So now we come to the 19th chapter, but just we should recap 5 minutes to the 18th chapter because it was just so brilliant. And I said last time when we recapped the 17th chapter and the 16th chapter and the 15th chapter, we simply read the Das Mula shloka. And I said at the beginning, when we read this shloka a week ago for the first time, what was the level of our comprehension of what the shloka is saying? And compare that now to what is the level of our comprehension now when we're going to read it again. So it's always encouraging to see how we've advanced to any degree in our understanding of these matters. So Das Mula 8 on page 403, the entire spiritual and material creation is a transformation of Krishna's Shakti. So what was described in this chapter is that Brahm, Parinamvad, was rejected as being illogical, irrational. This was rejected. And then the impersonal philosophy of illusion, Vivartavad, is not true. This is what we discussed in relationship with Sankarji. And he was saying also that in the Vedas, it's talking about Vivarta. Vivarta is there in the Vedas. That was one of Rajana's questions. But in the form of the illusory energy of Maya Devi, not Vivarta Vad, not someone who's supporting that illusory energy. Vad means something that you're supporting. A Maya Vad. I'm supporting the philosophy of Maya. I'm supporting the philosophy of Vivarta Vad, illusion. I'm supporting that. And it's completely erroneous. So Babaji has cleared this completely. This Brahm Parinamvad, and he's established at the same time, straight after that, Shakti Parinamvad, which is most exhilarating to appreciate deeply. And then it is an impurity that has been produced by Kali Yuga and is contrary to the teachings of the Vedas. So we're very aware, if we're a little bit moving along devotionally, that we are deeply entrenched in Kali Yuga. I mean, how can a reasonably intelligent person not understand that? This world we live in is diabolical. You know, the demons, it's the demon age. It's when they have their glory, so to speak. And the devotees just observe the games and tricks of the demons as they try to subjugate the conditioned souls, the poor innocent people, into submissive, giving them all their material facilities or whatever. You know, the demons are exploiting the general people, not giving them anything. And the best they are giving them is this Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, which we've already understood, is useless, is to be rejected. It is an impurity that has been produced by Kali Yuga and is contrary to the teachings of the Vedas. It's not anywhere in the Vedas. The Vedas support Achintya Beda Abhidheya-tattva, inconceivable oneness and difference. And this philosophy is so sublime. And this is what we swam in especially in the last part of this 18th chapter. This was very beautifully opened out by Babaji. And Brajanath is asking many wonderful questions there. But this tattva is fully substantiated at the end of this 18th chapter. As the pure and absolute doctrine, and one can attain perfect love for the eternal absolute when he accepts this principle. So that's all. The whole chapter is just about that. The whole chapter just opened out that one particular verse. So in our study at any time, if we want to suddenly recap through the various chapters, which we should do, my friend Brajanath was telling me every day of his life he reads Jaiva Dharma. Every day. Every day. That's the sanskar he's collected from my Gurudev. Every day, without fail. Read something from Jaiva Dharma. And gradually we can assimilate it. Because when you read one time, it's one appreciation. We've just done this class, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, something?
8 months.
8 months ago. And I told you all that I feel like I've never read the chapter before, but we've just studied it, spoken about it, gone over it, turned all the sentences upside down. But to try and get closer to the essence of it. So it's always Naveen Krishna, ever fresh, ever fresh, ever fresh, just the same as Krishna. It is, because it's the same as the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the same as the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's the Vedic conclusions personified, all bound up in one Shastra. I mean, how many verses, how many Shastras, the Taittiriya Upanishad, the Svetashvatara Upanishad, the Katha Upanishad, all these different Upanishads that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is just giving us again and again and again, the Srimad Bhagavatam. So many verses from Rupa Goswami, so much Praman. The first of the Dasmula is Annaya, the Annaya Praman. By the way, I'll share with you sometime the very wonderful mandal, which is coming together. It's already happening. A beautiful map of the whole Dasmula, and it's really moving along nicely. So I'll share that with you sometime. So now I think we're ready for chapter 19. We've fully absorbed the Amnaya, and then Krishna Tattva, Krishna Shakti, and Krishna as Raso Vaisa. These were described in the 13th and 14th chapters. And then there was 3 chapters about the Jiva Tattva, and then Jiva bound by Maya, and then Jiva liberated, the Mukta Jivas, liberated from Maya. So these 7 pramans we've discussed before, and then yesterday, or the last week, we discussed this Achintya Bheda Abheda. So now we're up to 8 of the Dasmula. So this is the 9th, and then this is like Sadhan Bhakti. And that's actually going to be in 2 chapters, because there's Vaidhi Bhakti and there's Raganuga Bhakti. There has to be a distinction there. And finally, there will be Priti, which is when we come into the 22nd Bhav Bhakti chapter. So try to fix your thoughts on appreciating the wheel of this Dasmula. Actually, I was thinking it's like if you look at a conch shell, you look at the hole that you blow the conch shell in, everything is spiraling out. If you look at the way the conch moves around, so we could have the Amnaya in the center and spiraling out with all these truths, or you could spiral in to the truth of Prem. So either way. But I want everyone, personally, I work in pictures. My consciousness, I can carry a picture for a long time. It doesn't fade. Various shastric injunctions, etc., might become a little bit forgetful at different times, but a picture, if I have that impression, then it seems to go deeper for me personally. I don't know how everyone else works there, but okay. So chapter 19, Prameya, Abhidheya. Abhidheya means the method to attain that supreme. After taking his meal, Brajanath retired to bed with various conflicting views about Achintya Bheda Abheda, the doctrine of inconceivable oneness and difference, arising in his heart. Sometimes he thought that Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva was just another kind of Mayavad philosophy. But when he reconsidered the teaching seriously, he realized that there was no objection in Shastra to it, because it goes close to the Mayavad concept. It has to purify the Mayavad conception in establishing itself. So there's many conceptions there that we're reading about Mayavad. So Brajanath could have become like confused. Well, it's what it's saying. He was confused. It's saying conflicting views. On the contrary, it contained the essence of all Shastras. Srimad Gaurkishore, when it says Gaurkishore, of course, that means Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu has many different names we can call him. So Gaurkishore is a name for Mahaprabhu, that golden Kishore, not Gaurkishore Das Babaji, don't be confused there. Srimad Gaurkishore is the complete manifestation of Bhagavan himself, and his profound teachings cannot possibly be faulty in any way. He said to himself, I will never give up the lotus feet of that extremely kind and affectionate Gaur Kishore. The Abhidheya-tattva is the ultimate truth. But what have I gained through this knowledge? Sri Raghunath Das Babaji has said that priti, love, is the sadhya of life for all jivas. Very beautiful sentence he said in the previous chapter. You remember that? When he's saying, he's talking about love is the, just wait. Facebook, oh, this one broke too. The YouTube is still going, but the Facebook broke. Okay, so we'll just stay with the YouTube. See if this Facebook comes back on again. Nothing to do. You just have to wait for the signal. But the YouTube's still going, so apologies via the YouTube for any Facebook people who are watching today. It's just for some reason or other crashed. Sri Raghunath Das Babaji has said that priti, love, is the sadhya of life for all jivas. Karmis and Gyanis are also searching for love, but they are ignorant about Shuddha Priti. Shuddha Priti. I don't know why this is going on. Shuddha Priti. That is why I must reach the stage of unadulterated love, but my only concern is how may I achieve it? It's not coming back on Facebook, so I'll just ignore it. I'll read that again. That is why I must reach the stage of unadulterated love, but my only concern is how may I achieve it? I will inquire from Babaji Mahashai about this subject and adopt his principles. Thinking like this, Brajanath fell asleep. Since Brajanath went to sleep quite late, he also awoke late the next morning. The sun had already arisen when he rose from his bed, and he had hardly finished. Oh, looks like the Facebook one says crashed. I'm going to you have to excuse me on YouTube for a moment. I just have to attend to something here. Okay, it's just not doing. It's not for some reason. Okay, we have some mic interruptions today from the technological world. But I'm very grateful for the technological world because they're giving us this facility. But we don't have Facebook anymore. He had hardly finished his morning ablutions when his maternal uncle, Vijay Kumar Bhattacharya Mahashai, arrived from Sri Modrum. Okay. With what one? I just got to sort of start it again. I just go straight into it. I'm just going to do it again. Okay, I've just started second broadcast on Facebook. We'll see if it goes or not. Doesn't look like it's going. So, Brajanath's maternal uncle, his mother's sister has a brother has just arrived. Uh, Vijay Kumar Bhattacharya Mahashai arrived from Moduram. Rajanath was very pleased to see his uncle after so many days. He offered him Dandavat pranams and respectfully offered him a seat. Vijay Kumar was a great scholar and creator of Srimad Bhagavatam. What is it?
Orator.
Orator. Yeah, you can play with this. I've already got it going. See if you can get it going. Vijay Kumar was a great scholar and orator of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he would travel considerable distances to give Bhagavatam discourses. By the mercy of Sri Narayan, he had developed staunch faith in his heart in Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Some days previously, he had the good fortune of obtaining darshan of Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur in a village by the name of Denur. Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur had ordered him to visit the inconceivable Yogpit of Sridham Mayapur, where Sri Sachinandan Gaurahari's Achintya Leela eternally takes place. He also informed him that soon most of the holy places of Sriman Mahaprabhu's pastimes would soon disappear, which is very interesting. It's going? Okay. So we're on Facebook again. Let's see how long it lasts. Okay. Hare Krishna Facebook people. We had some trouble, difficulty. Now I'm just. What's that? Yeah. Okay.
The Wi-Fi is down. I think mine just on the data of your phone. For some reason, the Wi-Fi is down.
Okay. So the Wi-Fi is down a little bit today, which is a shame because this is an incredible part of the Jaiva Dharma. If it gets too bad, I'll just repeat it tomorrow because we don't want to miss any of this. Okay, so Vijay Kumar had darshan of Vrindavan Das Thakur in the village where Vrindavan Das Thakur actually lived, which is Denur, and with his mother, Narayani, and told him to visit Yogpit in Sridham Mayapur. And now it's saying, or Vrindavan Das is saying, that most of the holy places of Sriman Mahaprabhu's pastimes would soon disappear. So this was back in the time 200 years, 150 years before Bhaktivinoda Thakur. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur was living here, all the pastime places, especially the Yogpit, were all covered over. So this is what it's referencing. This is what he's saying. They were covered over. All Mahaprabhu's pastimes would soon disappear and would reappear after 400 years. So you have to do the math. He said that the places of Sri Gaura's pastimes were essentially non-different from Sri Vrindavan, the holy place of Krishna's Leela, and that only those who can perceive the transcendental nature of Sri Mayapur can truly have darshan of Sri Vrindavan. So first of all, we immerse ourselves in the Ganga, and then we come up again in the Jamuna, in Vrindavan. Hearing these words of Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, the incarnation of Sri Vyasadeva, Vijay Kumar became very eager to take darshan of Sridham Mayapur and decided to go there after visiting his sister and nephew in Bilva Pushkarini. These days, the villages of Bilva Pushkarini and Brahma Pushkarini are somewhat distant from each other, but in those days they were immediately adjacent, and the boundary of Bilva Pushkarini was within a mile of Sridham Mayapur Yogpit. The old village of Bilva Pushkarini is abandoned these days and is known by the names Tota and Taranvash. When uncle It's not Taranpur. No. When uncle and nephew had exchanged pleasantries, Vijay Kumar said, "Tell grandmother that I'm going to take darshan of Sri Dham Mayapur and that I will be back soon and take my afternoon meal here." This is what Vijay is saying to Brajanath. "Uncle, why do you want to visit Mayapur?" asked Brajanath. Vijay Kumar was at that time unaware of Brajanath's present condition. He had only heard that Brajanath had given up his study of Nyaya Shastra and was now studying Vedanta Sutra, so he did not consider it appropriate to describe his devotional sentiments to him. Instead, he hid his real motive and said, "I have to meet someone in Mayapur." Brajanath was aware that his uncle was not only a great scholar of Srimad Bhagavatam, but also a devotee of Sri Gora. So he guessed that he must have some spiritual purpose in visiting Sri Dham Mayapur. "Uncle," he said, "a very faithful and elevated Vaishnava called Srila Raghunath Das Babaji resides in Mayapur. You must have some discussion with him." Encouraged by Brajanath's words, Vijay Kumar said, "Are you developing faith in the Vaishnavas these days? I heard that you had given up the study of Nyaya Shastra and were studying Vedanta, but now I see that you are entering into the path of bhakti, so I need not hide anything from you. In fact, the fact is, the fact is that Vrindavan Das Thakur Mahashai has ordered me to have darshan of Sri Yogpit at Sri Mayapur. So I have decided to take bath in the waters of Sri Ganga Devi and then circumambulate and take darshan of Sri Yogpit. Then at Sri Vasangam I shall roll to my heart's content in the dust of the Vaishnava's lotus feet." Brajanath said, "Uncle, please take me along with you. Let's meet with mother and then leave for Mayapur." Deciding thus, they informed Brajanath's mother and left for Mayapur. First they took bath in the Ganga, and Vijay Kumar exclaimed, "Aha! Today my life has become successful. At this ghat, Sri Sachinandan Gaurahari bestowed unlimited mercy upon Janavi Devi by performing his water pastimes here for 24 years. While bathing in these sacred waters today, I am feeling Paramananda. Paramananda." Then when Brajanath heard Vijay Kumar speak these words in an inspired mood, he spoke with a melted heart, "Uncle, today I am also blessed by your mercy." This is called Sadhu Sangha. His uncle, has the ability by his devotional um, advancement to inspire his nephew in this way. This is the dynamic between devotees. When you meet an older, inspired devotee, they can inspire that same current of enthusiasm within us. After Ganga Snan, they visited Mahaprabhu's birthplace at the house of Jagannath Mishra. That's the Yogpit. There, by the mercy of Sri Dham, they became completely immersed in a mood of deep spiritual love. Of course, at this time, there was no big like we have today. When you go to the Yogpit, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has encouraged Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati to build the beautiful mandir that we have there at the Yogpit. But at this time, none of that was there. It was just the house of Jagannath Mishra. He says very clearly it was just Jagannath Mishra's house. Um, There, by the mercy of Sri Dham, they became completely immersed in a mood of deep spiritual love, and their bodies became drenched with tears. All the way through, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is using these two personalities who have great Sukriti and Sanskar. They're Dhambasis, they're born here, they're Brahmanas. They're born in close proximity to Mahaprabhu's Yogpit. So they're very elevated souls. So we see how quickly they're being uncovered. Previously, they were covered to some degree because we see these covers are being purified by Raghunath Das's instructions throughout later on. Vijay Kumar said, "If one takes birth in this land of Gora but does not visit this Mahayogpit, one's life is useless. Just see how this holy place seems to material eyes to appear as any ordinary piece of land covered by straw huts, but by Gauranga's mercy, see what beauty and opulence is visible to us. So just what I said, because of their purified consciousness, they're able to perceive the atmosphere of Mahaprabhu's specialities. Mercy to see what beauty and opulence is visible to us. Look, how high and splendid are these bejeweled mansions. How inviting are these lovely gardens. How attractive to the eyes are these places of worship. Look here, Sri Gauranga and Vishnu Priya are standing inside the house. Oh, what an enchanting form! What an enchanting form! Vijay Kumar is having a spurt, he's having an image of this. There aren't jeweled mansions there. This is not what is there. They're just straw huts, but they are seeing this. And he's sharing this with Brajana, exactly like in the first chapter where Premdas Babaji is sharing with Sannyasi Thakur his vision like that. So this is very... Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a great mystic personality. You read his Tarangini, what's it, Navadvip Bhav Tarangini. Those are all his mystical visions of all the holy places. And it's very inspiring to see, to hear his visions. So he's including them here. As he said this, they both fell down and lost consciousness. Very beautiful. This is the elevated state of their consciousnesses. They both fell down and lost consciousness. After quite some time, they recovered with the help of some other devotees and entered Shiva Sangam. So from the very beginning, these two are most selected, special personalities, Vijay Kumar and Brajnath. Tears flowed from their eyes, and they rolled on the ground, exclaiming, Ha Srivas, Ha Advaita, Ha Nityananda, Ha Gadadhar Gauranga, please give us your mercy, free us from false pride, and give us the shelter of your lotus feet. Always this false pride is what is our obstacle. Mahaprabhu is saying we should hang this locket, Trinada Pisa Nishina, around our necks, that Mahaprabhu has given. Trinada Pisa Nichena, Tarora Pisa Hishina, Amanina Manadena, Kirtanya Sarahari. All the Vaishnavas there became very joyful when they saw such emotions in the two Brahmanas. They began to dance, chanting loudly, Mayapur Chandra ki jai, Ajit Gauranga ki jai, Sri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Brajanath immediately offered his body at the lotus feet of his worshipable spiritual master, Sri Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj. The elderly Babaji picked him up and embraced him, asking, Baba, what brings you here at this time of the day, this time today? And who is this respectable Mahajan with you? Very beautiful, the way they speak to each other with so much respect. So much. Immediately when you offer this type of respect, you immediately elevate the consciousness with goodness. Immediately, instantly, when respect is offered, when respect is demonstrated, this brings us to this mood or this place straight away of sattva gun. Respect is like a quality of love, in fact, when we are ready to offer respects, full heart respects. This immediately elevates the whole atmosphere. We should practice this more often in Kali Yuga because the atmosphere is so depleted from respect. We see the governments and the kings and the queens, the way they argue and rampage with each other is just reducing this quality of respect in the world. But the Vaishnavas always are offering respects to each other, always bowing down to each other, constantly. Rajanath humbly told him everything, and the Vaishnavas seated them with utmost respect. Vijay Kumar then inquired submissively from Srimad Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj, Prabhu, by what means can the ultimate aim, prayojan, for all jivas be achieved? Please be merciful and tell us how we can attain that prayojan. So Vijay Kumar, he's asking the question that Brajanath was thinking the previous night. We just discussed how when Brajanath was going to sleep, he was thinking of this question. and Vijay Kumar, you see this respectful mood of inquiry. If someone inquires submissively, what is the purpose of life? What is the like that? This immediately endears the Vaishnavas when we present ourselves with a humble, submissive mood. Then this is our process. Prabhu, by what means can the ultimate aim, prayojan, for all jivas be achieved? Please be merciful and tell us how we can attain that prayojan. Babaji, you are Shuddha Bhaktas and everything is within your grasp. Still, since you have mercifully asked me, so he's considering his mercy that they've asked in this question, giving him an opportunity to speak about these nectarian topics. I will explain whatever little I know. Again, humility, every step of the way. Bhaktivinoda Thakur doesn't miss a moment. Krishna Bhakti, which is free from any trace of gyan and karma, is the prayojan, ultimate aim, for all jivas, and it is also the means of attainment, both. During the stage of spiritual practice, sadhana avashta, it is called sadhana bhakti, and in the liberated stage, siddha avasta, it is called devotional service performed in prema bhakti, pure love. Brajanath, what are the intrinsic characteristics, Swarup Lakshan, of bhakti? Oh, not Brajanath, sorry, Vijay. Vijay is asking these questions. Babaji, by the order of Sriman Mahaprabhu, Sri Rupa Goswami has described the intrinsic characteristics of bhakti in Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows: 1:1:11. Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhakti uttama. This is the principal definition of what is bhakti. My Gurudev would have us chant this verse every single festival he ever went to in the Western world. He would make different devotees stand up, chant the verse at the very beginning, every single time, to put the compass on the right direction. What is Shuddha Bhakti? It is this. Uttam Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, Uttam Bhakti. Pure devotional service is the cultivation of activities that are meant exclusively for the benefit of Sri Krishna. In other words, the uninterrupted flow of service to Sri Krishna, performed through all endeavors of body, mind, and speech, and through expressions of various spiritual sentiments, bhavs. It is not covered by gyan, knowledge of nirvishesh Brahm, aimed at impersonal liberation, and karma, reward-seeking activity, yoga, or austerities. It is completely free from all desires other than the aspiration to bring happiness to Sri Krishna. So I think I'm going to stop there now, and because now it's going to unpack this verse for the next few pages. So I think it's a good place to stop today, because the internet wasn't working so well, and we'll stop on there. So Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Shuddha Bhakti ki jai, Uttam Bhakti ki jai, Gold Premanandi, Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Gold Premanandi. So I just completed the translation for the verse Anyabalasita Shunyam on page 431. That I'll just read it quickly. Uttam Bhakti, pure devotional service, is the cultivation of activities that are meant exclusively for the benefit of Sri Krishna. In other words, the uninterrupted flow of service to Sri Krishna performed through all endeavors of the body, mind, and speech, and through expression of various spiritual sentiments, bhavs. It is not covered by gyan, knowledge of nirvishesh Brahm, aimed at impersonal liberation, and karma, reward-seeking activity, yoga or austerities, and it is completely free from all desires other than the aspiration to bring happiness to Sri Krishna. So what brings happiness to Sri Krishna is Sri Radhika. So we are serving Sri Radhika ultimately. So this sutra very clearly describes both the Swarup Lakshan the intrinsic characteristics, and the tatashta lakshan, the extrinsic symptoms of bhakti. We have to listen very attentively here, because unless we know clearly what is bhakti, how can we practice it? This is why this verse is pivotal, very important. The word uttam bhakti refers to pure devotional service. We have uttam adhikari, who are practicing pure devotional service. We have kanishta on the neophyte stage. Then we have madhyam. And my Gurudev said, you all should very quickly come to the platform of madhyam adhikari. We should know the distinction between Vrindavan and Dwarka. If we know this distinction between Madhurya Dham and Aishwarya Dham, already we're approaching the platform of Madhyam. We must know this conclusively. We must think about it regularly. Because then prior to that understanding is the knowledge of Vaikuntha. And what is Vaikuntha? It's principally a liberated condition. The four liberations. Salokya, Samipya, Sarusti, what is it? Sarupya, Shar, four liberated conditions. So where is the height of the prem in Vaikuntha? It's limited. It's Vaikuntha Bhav or Vaikuntha Prem. It has its limitation in comparison to the gifts that Mahaprabhu is giving. So knowing these topics, hearing these topics will immediately bring us to the Madhyam platform. And from this Madhyam platform, then we can begin to practice devotional service from this platform. Because it means we've come out of that cycle of looking for liberation. We might know it with our intelligence, but with our hearts, are our hearts looking for a comfortable situation in this material world? A prosperous situation in this material world? Do I want to be liberated from all the problems of this material world? Problems are always going to be there in any condition. So if I'm looking for liberation from these problems, etc., this is not the goal of life. In any condition we find ourselves in. The word uttam bhakti refers to pure devotional service. Devotional service mixed with fruitive activity, karma mishra bhakti, and devotional service mixed with speculative knowledge, gyan mishra bhakti, are not pure devotional service. So be very clear. These gyan mishra bhakti and karma mishra bhakti. Karma mishra bhakti is described in the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, and this gyan mishra bhakti is extensively described in chapters 13, 14, 15, etc. of Bhagavad Gita. And Bhakti-tattva Vivek also these four. Yes, very good point. If you get the chance, we will post it on our WhatsApp thread. This Bhakti-tattva Vivek. There's 4 chapters, and each of those chapters deals with one line of this verse. The first line, Anya Bilasita Shunyam, consists of a whole chapter. Jnana Karmadi Anavritam consists of a whole chapter. So this is a very, very valuable book to absorb. It describes clearly the nature of Shuddha Bhakti. This Bhakti Tattva Vivek, of course, written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Very good point. Thank you. So yes, we have, it's not Karma Mishra Bhakti, neither Gyan Mishra Bhakti, are not pure devotional service. Because this Mishra means there's some mix of me, of minus. What do I want? I want some fruitive activities in karma, and I want some fruitive activity from Gyan. I want that illumination of Gyan in my consciousness. Mixed with fruitive activity, karma mishra bhakti, as is sense gratification, and the aim of devotional service mixed with speculative knowledge, Gyan mishra bhakti, is liberation. So sense gratification means I want to be indulging in the Mayic illusion. I love the Mayic illusion. Therefore, I can only enjoy Maya if I am right on the bodily platform. If I'm thinking I'm this material body, only that way the spirit soul cannot enjoy matter. It's beyond its capacity to enjoy anything in matter. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati used to say, when you feel the enjoying spirit rising, know that humility is far away. Because it's humility that takes us ultimately off that Mayic platform. Humility, how? Humility knowing I am utterly insignificant, Anuchit, and Krishna is totally complete and Purnachit. This is what we discussed extensively through the Jiva-tattvas and the Abhidheya-tattva. It keeps coming down to the same line. The Jiva is very small and Krishna is all pervasive. If we just realize this one point, we can go forward. It says one point.
What about enjoying in a very nice kirtan?
You're not even aware that you're enjoying. You're not thinking, I'm enjoying. You're thinking, I'm serving. If you're actually becoming spiritually enlivened by a kirtan, that's because you know this kirtan is pleasing to Mahaprabhu, to the Vaishnavas, to your guru. So it's focused, the attention of the kirtan sound vibration is focused on the Lord. If it's, I tell you in contrast, it's very interesting, your question, because sometimes you get people who are not so devotional and they sit with their guitar and they love to play the Hare Krishna mantra and they love the melody and they sing it for a long time and they're all getting high on the singing of the Mahamantra. But is this high devotional? No. I've seen many times it's more of a sahajiya tendency that they want to enjoy themselves on the bodily platform, the transcendental kirtan. Whereas you get the devotees, they are seriously focusing on the sound vibration, pleasing the Lord. It's actually completely different. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you understand? So subtle, Prabhu.
Good vision to distinguish.
So subtle. But you can sense if the kirtaniya is really enjoying the kirtan. Is he enjoying it for his own bodily pleasure? Or is he enjoying it for the seva to the Supreme? We can't always tell the distinction here. You have to be very astute. You have to know Jaiva Dharma, because this is going to be discussed in Nam Tattva section. It'll be discussed there. But it really is it's a big, huge distinction between the two. But that's a good question. Only such devotional service free from any trace of desire for fruitive results or liberation is uttam bhakti, pure devotional service. That's the ultimate. Freed from any material desire. Why? Because what has material desires got to do with devotional service? Nothing. The fruit of bhakti is prem. The swarup lakshan of bhakti is endeavors favorable for Krishna. Krishna Anushilanam, performed with body, mind, and speech, and loving attitude of mind, Priti Mai Manasa. Such endeavors, chesta, and spiritual sentiments, bhavs, are both favorable. Anukulya, and constantly dynamic. We've said this so many times that we have to be having that experience of moving forward daily. We have to appreciate our practices are evolving. Whatever you were feeling and experiencing yesterday, today we should have moved on from there by our chanting today, by our reading today, by our practice today. If we don't feel that we've moved or we've progressed in a particular day, that's good to appreciate that. But now when I understand that, then I must make more endeavor. If I thinking that I haven't really made much progress today, then quickly bring me a Chaitanya Charitamrita, quickly give me my mala. So that can be an inspiration but this quality of humility must always be there. The devotee never thinks he has devotion. When someone says, oh, you are a devotee, the true answer would be, well, I'm trying to be devoted. I'm trying to be devoted to the Lord. Who can hold their head up and say, yes, I'm devoted to Krishna? I don't think so. Constantly dynamic. By the mercy of Krishna and his bhaktas, when the special function of the internal energy of Bhagavan manifests upon the jiva's own spiritual strength, then the true form Swarup of bhakti takes birth. It's going to be described how the Sangvit Shakti, the knowledge potency, comes in the mental quantum. It comes in the consciousness, cognition. We understand these precepts, and as we bring them into the heart, it mixes with the Hladini Shakti. It mixes with Sri Radhika's direct potency, and then realization will come from that. It's going to be described in this chapter. It's described also in the 14th chapter, the same thing.
This is an advanced stage. When there's some
Well, we all experience the Hladini to some degree, the bliss. Even when you very first began, however many years ago, chanting Hare Krishna, there was some bliss coming from the spiritual world. Otherwise, you wouldn't stay here and keep chanting. Of course, something is transformed within us. So at all stages, some bliss is going. Something is coming, but it's very, very imperceptible. It's like you don't see a flower opening. When did you last look at a flower and see it opening? You don't see like that. We might see it in a slow video or something, but we don't see the flower budding open. So we don't see our own progress also like that. It's very subtle, the progress, but it's still there. In the present state, the jiva's body, mind, and speech are all materially afflicted. When the jiva directs them by his own discrimination, the result is only dry speculation and renunciation, and the true nature of bhakti does not manifest through them. Yes, if you're just doing your own efforts without properly being guided by Shastra, by Guru, by the Vaishnavas, by the mercy of the Dharma, etc., if you're just trying to forge ahead, crash the gates of heaven, I call it. If you're trying to do like that, what will happen? You'll just bang your head and just come back down with a headache. It won't, you can't move that way. That direction's closed to us. Trying to do it, that's called arohapanta. That's climbing by the ascending. The actual path is avaroha. Ava is like avatar. Avaroha, that's how we remember the two paths. Avaroha, descending. Avatars, they descend. So avaroha, this knowledge is going to descend. Bhakti does not manifest through them. However, when Krishna's Swarup Shakti becomes active in the jiva's body, this is what I was saying, when that Sangvit Shakti comes into the heart, mixes with the Hladini, that's directly the Swarup Shakti. Mind and speech, and the nature of pure bhakti immediately becomes manifest. That requires a sincere endeavor to begin with. And we're going to discuss this again in the Nam Tattva section, the distinction between pratibimba and chaya. These two terminologies which are very important. Pratibimba means the reflected idea or conception. It's not actually connecting with the body, it's reflected. If you see a reflection, it's not connected to the original. But if you see a shadow, it's directly connected. So chaya abhas is okay because it will develop. But pratibimba, when I'm not even, the sincerity isn't there to really desire in the core of my heart that I want to serve Radha and Krishna at the expense of my own material acquisition, my own material mind, my own material false ego, everything. I want to put that aside. I just want to serve the Lord. This intention must be there. The ultimate aim of all spiritual activities is Krishna, and that is why real devotional activity must be favorable towards Krishna. This chapter is packed. Every sentence is so potent. Really, really, isn't it? You could write a whole book on every sentence that's here, really strongly. Endeavors performed for realization of Brahm and Paramatma are not accepted as pure bhakti. This moksha is not accepted as pure bhakti. What's the quality of liberation? It's called moksha lukhuta krit. That means I look down with distaste on moksha liberation. I don't want that. That's not in my list of desires. Not at all. Not at any time Do I want that? We look at Prahlad Maharaj, for example. So much suffering given by his father, so much torture and pain, but he was never crying out to be liberated from that. That wasn't his prayer. His prayer constantly was only glorifying Krishna. He wasn't asking for protection. He wasn't asking for liberation. He wasn't asking for anything. This is why Prahlad Maharaj is renowned for his nishta, the quality of nishta. Tomorrow is Nrsimha Chaturdasi. So our meditation is very much on Prahlad today and Nrsimhadev. And who is Prahlad? And this nishta in Prahlad we see is a wonderful example. Only he wanted to be with the Lord, to serve the Lord. It's described in that Nrsimha Charita, Prahlad Charita, how sometimes Krishna would be with Prahlad, and Prahlad would be very happy. Then it would seem that Krishna went away from Prahlad. Prahlad would start crying, would start being anxious, wanting to be back with the Lord. So this very beautiful description of nishta. Endeavors performed for realization of Brahma Paramatma are not accepted as pure bhakti. Rather, they are aspects of speculative knowledge, gyan, and fruitive activities, karma, respectively. There are two types of endeavors, those that are favorable and those that are unfavorable. Only favorable activities are considered to be devotional service. So we're going to come to the two distinctions of avyakta and, what is it, the other one? Ativyakta. These two distinctions of, we're going to come to it. Yeah. If some.
Here you were saying before, realization of Brahma and Paramatma is not accepted as pure bhakti. And then the end of the paragraph says only about favorable and unfavorable. So unfavorable is not considered devotional service.
It's not considering Shuddha Bhakti. It's
so
not.
This devotional service is just like saying pure bhakti?
Yes.
Okay.
We're still talking about Uttam Bhakti.
Okay.
The whole verse, Prabhu, is only about Uttam Bhakti.
Okay.
The last line of this verse is Bhaktiya Uttama. This is why we say this verse, because there's three types of bhakti. There's Aropa Siddha Bhakti, Sangha Siddha Bhakti, and Swarup Siddha Bhakti. This will be described also. But this Swarup Siddha Bhakti is Uttam Bhakti. But these other two types of bhakti, Aropa Siddha Bhakti, we understand that's what I'm doing something because I like to do it. If I'm a gardener, I like to grow vegetables and I happen to offer them to Krishna. So it's considered bhakti, but it's not pure bhakti because my first desire is to do the gardening, or I like to build. So then I happen to be building a temple. So I like to play music and I happen to be doing a kirtan. I'll offer it to Krishna, but my first desire was to play music. So this is all called Aropa Siddha Bhakti. It's not pure. The original intention was not to please Krishna. That wasn't the original intention. Still was to please myself. Still this phantom of material I is present, prominent.
Which category is Kamsa and Shishupal going in? Because they were constantly thinking about Krishna, and they got mukti.
Sayuja Mukti. They got merging into Krishna's body.
Any of the categories?
They are in this, you can say, speculative gyan. Actually, they were like moksha, but even lower than moksha in a sense. Well, because Sayuja Mukti means merging into the body of Krishna. So that is most distasteful. So yes, they were absorbed in thinking of Krishna, but in most unfavorable way. And Kamsa also the same, in a most unfavorable way. So what was the degree of their bhakti? Their bhakti was not. This is not bhakti.
So it's not even.
No. It's like Chanura and Mustika. Krishna was very happy to fight with them. He likes to wrestle. He likes to fight. Here was a good big challenge. So Krishna was happy. But were Chanura and Mustika performing bhakti? No, they wanted to kill Krishna. That was not bhakti from their side. So this is overextension of the rule, it's described. And then there's the underextension of the rule. When Mother Yashoda, she's feeding Krishna, and Krishna wants her milk, but she puts Krishna down. And this doesn't please Krishna at all. Krishna's not happy. And why? But Mother Yashoda, what is the degree of her bhakti? Because she's running to save the milk, because she wants to feed Krishna the milk. Her motivation is pure love, pure Vatsalya prem. So her motivation is completely supported as bhakti. But Krishna didn't like that at all. He broke the the yogurt pot. Where are we? Devotional service. Only favorable activities are considered to be devotional service. The word anukulyena means the tendency to be favorably disposed towards Krishna. This tendency has some connection with the material world during the period of devotional practice. Okay, understand this clearly. This sudden kal in our practice, then we have connection with this material world because we're using the objects of this material world to serve Krishna. So we have to sometimes acquire those objects, etc., to serve the Lord. So we're having some connection with the material world. But in the liberated stage, Siddhakal, it is utterly pure, free from any connection with the material world. Why? Was using the same flowers, etc., but in the sadhana jal, I'm having to endeavor to find those flowers, so to speak. But in the siddha kal, then those flowers are already there. Everything becomes very simplified. Yogamaya supplies all the ingredients that I need for my worship. They're just instantly all there, manifest. Not like in a miraculous way, but they're just there. We'll discuss, because there's another verse we're going to discuss this, Klesha Agni Shubhada. And the result of that sadhan is auspiciousness, subhada. That means that everything is favorable for your performance of bhakti. Everything is there. There's no, I don't have to go and dig a garden to grow the flowers, etc., and become involved, immersed in doing like that. The higher stage, already it's there. That's not such a good example, but I think you get the idea. I hope you get the idea. Free from any connection with the material world. That's a siddhakal. The characteristics of bhakti are the same in both these stages. Therefore, the intrinsic characteristics of bhakti are endeavors for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, performed with favorable sentiments. So the siddha and the sadhan, they're both performing them favorably. They're both performing their practices to please Krishna. This has to become the principal focus. This is all. This is the first requirement, just as pleasing Krishna. Because what's the antithesis of that is pleasing me. And that's, again, planted on the material platform, right? Fully. If I'm trying to just please me. With liberation or gyan or these types of activities, I want to be my consciousness brighter. I want to be freed from material distress. I want sufficient funds so I don't have to worry about my material life, etc. While we are discussing the intrinsic characteristics, Swarup Lakshana of Bhakti, it is also necessary to describe the extrinsic characteristics, Tatashta Lakshana. So that's what I said at the beginning, this Anyabilasita Shunyam, Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. These first two lines are described as the Tatashta. Tatashta means the things that I should not do. And the Swarup Lakshana are the things that I should do, or the things that will, connect me with Krishna. But the Tatashta Lakshana are like the don'ts, so to speak. And the Swarup Lakshana are like the do's. That's to put it very simply. Sri Rupa Goswami has explained that there are two Tatashta Lakshana. The first is having no other desires. So this is like a negative thing, not to have any other desires. And the second is freedom from the covering of gyan, karma, and other such endeavors. Any ambition other than desire for progress in bhakti goes against bhakti and comes in the category of other desires. Gyan, karma, yoga, and renunciation are said to be antagonistic to bhakti, when they are strong enough to cover the heart. You see, like a Vairagi, a Tyagi, he's so immersed in his austerities that he's only thinking about himself and his various austerities, etc. He's only focusing on that. He's not thinking about softening the heart. Bhakti Devi is very soft. She's very tender, charming, and beautiful. She's delicate. This is the nature of Bhakti Devi. But if you perform rigorous types of austerity, they are like harsh to the jiva to practice. And that creates a covering over the heart where bhakti resides. So that is not to be encouraged. And it's talking about gyan, but there are 3 types of gyan. We have to understand this clearly. What's this? Tat padartha gyan, knowledge that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. Krishna is the origin of all. Everything is manifesting from Krishna. Krishna is Raso Vaisaha. He's the complete whole personality. This is knowledge. Tat padartha gyan. Tat, we say, the men say in their Brahma Gayatri, Om Bu Bu Swat Tat. This means the complete Lord, Tat. And then there is Tvam, which means knowledge of the jiva. And this knowledge consists of the jiva being anuchit. The jiva is very, very small. So this knowledge is good. And the knowledge of Tat, Padartha Gyan it's called, is very good. These 2 types of knowledge. But Jiva Brahm Aikya Gyan is the knowledge of Brahm, which is to be rejected. So that 3rd type of knowledge is to be rejected. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's description of these types of Gyan here. So the first is having no other desires, and the second is freedom from the covering of Gyan, karma, and other such endeavors. Any ambition other than desire for progress in bhakti goes against bhakti and comes in the category of other desires. Gyan, karma, yoga, and renunciation are said to be antagonistic to bhakti when they are strong enough to cover the heart. Therefore, pure bhakti may be described as the cultivation of activities that are favorably disposed to Sri Krishna, free from both the above antagonistic characteristics, freed from gyan and karma. That's the second line. Vijay. What are the various distinctive characteristics of bhakti? This is interesting. Now, what is the characteristic? So we've gone quite quickly through this verse. If you look in your Bhakti Rasa, yes, in Bhakti Tattva Vivek, this is described much more thoroughly. And also in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti. This is the first step for all of us to actually clear this verse and all its intricacies. Intricacies. That's right?
Intricacies.
No, that doesn't sound right. Intricacies.
Intricacies.
Intricacies, yes. He's from Israel, by the way, so he's not English. So you did say it completely correct. Okay. So he's asking about the qualities or the various characteristics of bhakti. This is beautiful. Actually, this whole chapter is incredible. This chapter is very special. It's bright chapter. Babaji, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.17, Srila Rupa Goswami has described the following 6 special characteristics of bhakti. Klesh Agni Shubhada, that's 2. Moksha Lokhuta Krit Sudurlabha, that's another 2, that's 4. Sandra Ananda Visheshatma, 5. Sri Krishna Akashani Chasa, that's the 6th. So it's in pairs here. And the translation, Klesh Agni, she destroys all kinds of distress. This Agni, Klesh means sufferings. And Agni, we can say like A-G-N-A, which is fire, incinerates. It incinerates all the sufferings. By the performance of our sadhan bhajan, it incinerates the essential sufferings of this world. We don't have to be suffering internally. And Shubhada, she awards all kinds of good fortune. It's like this is the result of our practice. This means like the winds of auspiciousness come around us when we're performing Paka Sadhan. Just everything seems to fall into place. Everything seems to be like a well-oiled situation for us. There's no obstructions in our movement forward. If we're focusing on Guru, we're focusing on the Vaishnavas, we're focusing on Shastra, Sadhu, then, and we're doing our prescribed duties, our prescribed sadhan, and thinking of Vrindavan, Mahaprabhu, etc., then we're progressing forward. There's no obstacles there. So this is Shubhada. She awards all kinds of good fortune. It's also can be called, we have to be careful for this, it's called Taranga Rangini. This is the fruits of bhakti. Sometimes the fruits of bhakti become overwhelmingly sweet, and you can get carried away in those. Say, for example, if you're traveling on the road preaching, then people give you a nice room to stay, give you the best prasadam. Everyone comes and honors you, gives you a nice seat to speak, and these gives you lots of money and, you know, clothes and all kinds of different material objects. And you can become enamored by these waves of the fruits of bhakti. Taranga Rangini. We must beware of that. Beware of that. And number 3, Moksha Lakhuta Krit. I've already said this today. She makes Krit, the pleasure of impersonal liberation, appear Lakhuta, insignificant. That's an amazing quality, characteristic, to really deeply feel that this liberation is absolutely nothing. If I was suddenly given liberation, I would die because I would become materially happy in that liberated state. And then I would forget the enthusiasm to run to Krishna. I would forget sometimes if we're put into suffering conditions, this propels us towards Krishna. If we're anxious, if we're intense about our practice, then if we're feeling I'm not getting anything, that's good. That'll give us the inspiration to constant focus, to pray more fervently, to look more deeply. Where is this current? Where can I get that? Because greed is the essential quality of Rag Marg. The essential quality of Vaidhi Marg is rules and regulations. We'll discuss this also. But Raganuga Bhakti is greed. So sometimes Krishna makes it difficult for us, even in our auspicious sadhan, to make us become more greedy, more hungry, more enthusiastic, more energetic in our seva. We have to be of that nature. It's not going to just drop off the tree just so simply. It's not like that. This place where we're trying to attain is so high, this transcendental world. It's so much beyond this material conception. It's so special and sacred. It requires complete submissive service to that realm. It's easy and it's not easy. But when it's not easy, it gives us the inspiration to move forward very quickly. And if it was suddenly so easy, we'd just become complacent. Was it ever easy for the gopis? Did the gopis ever have a simple time? It's practically they were tortured, ran to the forest, all ready to dance, etc., then told to go home after they give up the whole families, they give up everything, their shame, their pride, everything they gave up. And then Krishna told them, no, go home. So all of these nuances within the path of bhakti are wonderful to think about, to contemplate daily.
Can I ask?
What?
So, can we say that if someone, a devotee, is satisfied he's in feeling the shubhada.
Shubhada means auspicious.
So a devotee
It doesn't mean
feels,
satisfied, it means
no,
auspicious.
but I mean he's satisfied with all the auspiciousness that's following the bhakti. He's doing paka sadhan, and he's all happy. And he's just satisfied in that stage. So can we say that this is like being in the mukti, like in aspiring for mukti. But even
He might be
there.
suddenly attracted to liberation if he becomes satisfied like that. The devotee, I can remember my Gurudev saying, somebody asked him, how can we tell if our sambandha is growing with Guru? I've said before, yeah. And he says, if you're always very hungry to please Guru more, and he says, like myself, I never feel that I'm pleasing my Gurudev sufficiently. And my Gurudev, he would give festivals 365 days of the year. Every single day of the year, he was with devotees in different places. And it was like a festival every day of the year, printing books, taking parikramas, doing, traveling around the world, doing so many, building temples, so many sevas, writing. And yet he never felt that he was doing enough to please his Guru. Never this complacent mood. This complacency will kill us, We don't look for that. Material happiness. That's like liberation. We're not searching for that. We're searching to render for the connection with the Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to finish these. So, Mokshalokahata Krit, she makes Krit, the pleasure of impersonal liberation, appear lakuta, insignificant. Sdurlabha, she is rarely achieved. This is Bhav Bhakti. These three couplets, Kleshagni Shubhada, that's one couplet. Moksha Lakuta Krit, Sudurlabha is the next couplet. And the next couplet is, the first is Sadhan Bhakti. Sadhan Bhakti is coming to Bhav Bhakti. And Bhav Bhakti is coming to the final one, which is Prema Bhakti. So Sudurlabha, she is rarely achieved. Bhav Bhakti is really achieved. We see those verses that we discussed previously. Out of many who are seeking liberation, only one attains liberation, etc. One attains Narayan. Many who worship Narayan, only one achieves Dwarka. Out of many who worship there, only one will achieve Brajendranandan Sham Sundar in reality. So all these different stages is very, very, very rare achieved. And then the last two now this is the characteristics of Prem. Sandra Ananda Visheshatma. Her nature is imbued with the most intense and superlative pleasure. And I've said many times this word, Sandra Ananda. It's in two divisions. Sandra means nothing else can enter. Sandra, you can write this down. Sandra means nothing else can enter. Ananda, except bliss. Only Ananda can enter into the consciousness and heart at this stage of Prem. Nothing else. Sandra Ananda Visheshatma, this speciality of the Supreme. Her nature is imbued with the most intense and superlative pleasure in service to the Supreme. And Sri Krishna Akashani, she is, the soul means to attract Krishna. These are the two characteristics of Prem. Prem itself will attract the Lord when the sadhak reaches this stage of Prem. Because after Prem, there is Sneha, Man, Pranaya, Rag, Anurag, Bhav, Mahabhav, Ruda, Adiruda, Modan, Mohan. There are these other stages after. This is just bringing to the stage of Prem. We have from Shraddha to Prem. Shraddha, what is it? Bhajana Kriya, Anata Nivriti, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav, Prem. Then after Prem is Sneha, Man, Rag, Pranaya, etc. Anubhav, Mahabhav, and then Ruda, Adiruda, Modan, Mohan. So all these stages come after. So this is like two stages. So this is the characteristics of bhakti. Explain. And now Babaji is going to open these out, and we're going to go there tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll open out this incredible verse. All these verses are, because now we're really focusing on what is bhakti. Previously, it was like we were cultivating the field of knowledge to become qualified to enter into the path of Shuddha Bhakti or pure Bhakti, sadhan Bhakti. So now we're entering this path of pure Bhakti. So these verses are just really sublime, very, very beautiful part of this Jaiva Dharma. And like you said, this Tattva, Bhakti Tattva Vivek, we'll put that on our WhatsApp thread.
We're now learning, so it's just finished this book.
Aha.
It's my brother.
Aha.
And I remember a lot of.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Go Premanandi. So now we're coming to chapter 19, and we're up to page 434. We chanted this beautiful verse last on Tuesday. Klesh Agni Shubhada Moksha Lokhuta Krit Sudurlabha Sandrananda Visheshatma Sri Krishna Akashani Chasa. We chanted this verse last time, and previous to this we had been introduced to what is the description of an Uttam Bhakta, and this is capsulated in the verse Anyabilasata Shunyam. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's walking us through these elementary, basically, precepts of what is Shuddha Bhakti. And of course now Vijay Kumar, the uncle of Brajanath, has joined us in the pastimes, and he's inquiring about this Shuddha Bhakti. So this chapter is entitled Abhidheya-tattva. It's the what is the method to achieve this Amal Prem Seva, this Nitya Dharma. So we've discussed already this Kleshagni, Shubhada, Moksha Lokhuta Krit, Sudurlabha, Sandra Ananda, Visheshatma, Prem, Shri Krishna Akashani Chasa. And I described that these are the three descriptions of Sadhan Bhakti, Bhav Bhakti, and Prema Bhakti. Sadhan Bhakti is Kleshagni Shubhada. This is Sadhan Bhakti. And then the next couplet is Moksha Lokhuta Krit Sudurlabha. This is Bhav Bhakti. This is a very powerful description. It's when you look on Mukti as being completely insignificant. That means I'm not looking for any liberation from this material world. This is not my focus or intention at all. I simply want to find that current of bhakti, that current of devotion to the Supreme Lord, which is inherent within me already. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhavsa sadhanabhida nitya siddhyasya. We'll discuss this verse in a minute also, the same verse. So we'll carry on reading now from page 434 after the description of this Kleshagni. And now we're going to unpack this verse basically. So Vijay is asking now, Vijay is older of course than Brajanath, more mature devotee. So his questions are coming from a deeper perspective. So Vijay asks, how does bhakti destroy distress? Beautiful question. Babaji, there are three kinds of klesh, distress. Sin itself, pap, sin in its seed form, papa bij, and ignorance, avidya. So papa bij, and avidya. Sinful activity is classified as pratak, sinful, pataka, mahapatak, very sinful, and atipatak, extremely sinful. All these are considered pap. This is sin. We're talking about kleshagni. What are the sins that are incinerated by the potency of bhakti? People in whose hearts Shuddha Bhakti has manifested are naturally not inclined to become involved in sinful activities, pap. The desire to commit sins, which is called papa bij, cannot remain in a heart filled with bhakti. Avidya means ignorance of one's spiritual identity. When Shuddha Bhakti first dawns within the heart, the jiva understands very clearly I am a servant of Krishna. Jivara Saruphoy Krishna. We're saying constantly through these previous chapters that the principal teaching is to realize I am Anuchit and Krishna is Vibhuchit. Krishna is the supreme, complete, and I am very much an infinitesimal part, and my Swarup is to serve that supreme. That's all. That's the entirety of a whole philosophy, basically. But we have to go through many areas to pacify our intelligence and intellect, etc., to feel completely comfortable with this whole very humble conception, because we think materially being the servant is an inferior position, but being the servant of the Supreme is the most superior, highest position. But we have to purify the darkness of the material contamination to realize that first. When Shuddha Bhakti first dawns within the heart, the jiva understands very clearly, I am a servant of Krishna. I am a servant of Krishna. And ignorance disappears altogether. This means that as Bhakti Devi, the goddess of Bhakti, spreads her effulgence, the darkness of Papa Bij, and Avidya are expelled from one's heart. On the auspicious arrival of Bhakti, all sorts of distress go far away. That is why Bhakti is Klesh Agni. Understand? Very simple, but beautiful to hear it again and to remember these truths. Babaji. Oh, Vijay. How is Bhakti Subhada? Shubhada. That means auspicious. Babaji. In this world, all types of affection, all good qualities, and all the different types of pleasures are considered Shubha, auspicious. One in whose heart pure bhakti has manifested is endowed with four qualities: humility, compassion, freedom from pride, and giving honor to others. These are the four qualities of Trinadapi Sunichena, that's humility; Tarorapi Suhishena, that's compassionate; Amanina, that's freedom from pride; Amanina Manadena, that's giving honor to everyone; Amadena, giving honor to everyone. So those four qualities are in that shlok of Shikshastikam. For this reason, the whole world bestows affection upon them. All kinds of sadgunas are automatically manifest in Shuddha Bhaktas. If you meet someone who's got some genuine, even a little bit of genuine humility, everyone is attracted to him, because the conditioned soul is very much engrossed in his own worth, his own reputation, his own accomplishments, his own pride, etc. But if we meet someone who's actually humble, then they bring tremendous joy to the heart in everybody. Everybody becomes satisfied because they're not feeling any pressure from that person. They're feeling, they're not challenged by that person in any way. So that's a very auspicious experience for the jiva when he meets a genuine, humble person. All kinds of sadgunas, the material modes, are automatically manifest in Shuddha Bhakti. Pure qualities, all kinds of pure qualities, sadgunas, are automatically manifest in Shuddha Bhaktas, pure qualities. When we recognize people's pure qualities, we feel very enlivened in their company. Bhakti is capable of giving all kinds of pleasure. If one desires, she can give material enjoyment, the happiness of merging into the impersonal Brahm, Nirvishesh Brahm Shuka, all kinds of mystical powers, siddhis, sense gratification, and liberation. All of these are at the fingertips of those pure bhaktas. So there's always going to be a challenge, even when you purify your conditioned consciousness and you come to this stage of bhakti, then you have the allurements of various material acquisitions, Taranga Rangini, the beautiful attractions of bhakti. So the sadhak has to be very much in the association of pure Vaishnavas to be guided through those pitfalls that can happen at that time. Vijay, how does bhakti make even the pleasure of impersonal liberation seem insignificant? Moksha lokhuta krit. This is a very important one. Babaji, if even a little love for the Supreme, Bhagavat Rati, has manifested in one's heart, dharma, religion, artha, economic development, karma, sense gratification, and moksha, liberation, naturally appear insignificant. Of course they appear insignificant to that person who has developed, just like Dhruva Maharaj. He wanted a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather. And as soon as he had darshan of Krishna, all of those desires disappeared. So there are many examples in Shastra of this. Vijay, and why is it said that bhakti is rarely achieved? Sudurlabha. Babaji, this matter should be understood carefully. Bhakti will remain elusive so long as one performs devotional service improperly. Even if one engages in millions of different spiritual practices sudden. Apart from that, Bhaktidev satisfies the majority of people with only impersonal liberation. This is what most people are seeking. She does not give bhakti unless she sees that the practitioner is highly qualified. It is for these two reasons that bhakti is rarely achieved. Rarely achieved. My Gurudev says this many times, that we should constantly be seeking those qualified Vaishnavas who have come beyond this stage of any material desires here. And then they can guide us confidently. The sadhana of cultivating jnana definitely leads one to liberation in the form of merging into the non-dual Brahm, which is the very form of knowledge. It is also, which is the very form of knowledge. We know that we have this verse, what is it? Vedanti tattva vedas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmati parametmati bhagavan iti shabite. So in the Brahman, that's described here, this contains two qualities of vairagya and knowledge. These two qualities are there within the Brahman. And there is no existence within the Brahman. There is no sandini. It is only this chit that is there, just knowledge and vairagya. So this is the condition in the Brahma Jyoti, knowledge and vairagya. And in that place, it's described that it's just simply shantaras, neutrality, no sambandha. So this is the place of nirvishesh Brahm. And the devotee wants to diligently avoid that place, just like Gop Kumar when he's traveling through the different planetary systems and he comes to this kingdom of liberation, and Lord Shivji has to come with a big Sankirtan party and tell him, quickly get out of here, otherwise you'll get attracted to this place. The sadhana for cultivating jnana definitely leads one to liberation in the form of merging into the non-dual Brahm, which is the very form of knowledge. That's what I've just described. It's the very form of knowledge, the chit potency there. It is also easy to get material sense gratification by performing pious deeds like yajna and other such activities. There are many people, they perform yajnas all their lives and they get great auspicious returns and rewards for that, but they're being cheated of the fifth purusartha and other activities. However, if one does not practice bhakti yoga, one cannot achieve bhakti to Sri Hari, even by performing millions of spiritual practices. There are so many practices described in Shastra. We must stay very close to the guidance of Sadguru. He's navigating us through this. This is essential. Vijay, Why has bhakti been described as the superlative form of bliss, Sandar Ananda Visheshatma? Babaji, bhakti is eternal spiritual happiness, and that is why the performance of bhakti places one in an ocean of bliss. If one combines all the different types of worldly material pleasure, adds the pleasure of merging into Brahm, which is the negation of this material world, and multiplies it all 10 millions of times, the resultant pleasure still cannot compare to a single drop of the ocean of bliss of devotional service. Very beautiful progression there. Material pleasures are utterly trivial, and the pleasure that appears by negating material pleasures, mukti, is very dry. Both these pleasures are different in nature from the bliss of the spiritual world. We had this discussion in the very beginning when Sannyasi Thakur, he's asking this Advaita Siddhi. Is Advaita Siddhi the same as Prem? And then it's been described there, the distinction between Advaita Siddhi and Prem. Advaita Siddhi is like one, Advaita, not two. There's no dynamic of affection or attraction, of reciprocation, of love between them. But Prem is about serving the reciprocation, or serving the Prem between Radha and Krishna. So it's a completely different consideration. One cannot compare two things that are altogether different in character. Therefore, those who have developed some taste for the bliss of performing bhakti find the pleasure of merging into Nirvishesh Brahm to be as insignificant as the water in a cow's hoofprint. Only those who have experienced this pleasure can understand it. Others cannot grasp or discuss it. We are begging, praying for the mercy to realize a single drop of devotion. A single drop of devotion in this life is going to inspire my heart far away from this Nirvishesh Brahm or any other sort of material bliss. It's only this bliss of seva, pure seva, that I'm hankering for. And one must be very greedy, we must have this lobha, this enthusiasm, otherwise it won't happen. Vijay, how does bhakti attract the all-attractive Sri Krishna? Sri Krishna Akashani. Babaji, Sri Krishna, together with all his loved ones, becomes forcibly attracted and controlled by a person within whose heart Bhakti Devi has appeared. Krishna cannot be controlled or attracted by any other means. It's only by bhakti. Shuddha Bhaktyamam abhijananti yavan yaschasmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato natva vishate tat anantaram. Krishna is saying at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, I'm only attained by devotional service, this pure bhakti, this Shuddha bhakti, nothing else. And that will only come from those who have that Shuddha bhakti. I can only acquire that from those who have it, or those, even madhyams, who are serious on the path to achieve that. Then that mercy will come. Vijay, if bhakti is so sublimely potent, why do those who study many shastras not try to achieve her? Babaji, bhakti and Sri Krishna are beyond all material boundaries. So human intelligence cannot teach them, because it is gross and limited. I'll read it again. Bhakti and Sri Krishna are beyond all material boundaries. So human intelligence cannot reach them. Human intelligence is what is gross and limited. However, one can easily understand the essence of devotional service, Abhidheya-tattva, if he has developed even a slight taste by the influence of pious deeds accumulated in the past. No one but the most fortunate jivas can understand Abhidheya-tattva. By the influence of our pious deeds, it will bring us into sadhu sangha. That will be the result of our pious deeds. Vijay, why does material logic carry no weight? Babaji, logic does not have the qualities necessary for understanding spiritual pleasure. It is said, Naisha tarikena matir apanye, proptanye naiva su janaya preshta. Kata Upanishad 129. My dearest Nichiketa, it is not proper to use argument to destroy the wisdom of the absolute truth that you have received. Argument means the intellect, the rationale. Bhakti is beyond this. Then it is also said, Taraka Pratishtanat. Logic is useless for establishing any vastu, real substance, because what one person establishes by logic and argument today, a more expert logician can refute tomorrow. Vedanta Sutra 2.1.11. That is why it is said that logic carries no respect. All these statements of the Vedanta establish that logic cannot explain spiritual matters. Okay, now the next question, we'll stop here, but the next question is, Brajanath now is asking, is there any stage of bhakti between sadhan bhakti and prema bhakti? So now we're going to hear something about bhakti, and we'll hear this tomorrow. So, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Shuddha Bhakti ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Now we've reached the 19th chapter, and this chapter is about bhakti. It's about sadhan. What is sadhan? So we've discussed already the pivotal verse, Anyabilasata Shunyam, and then we've discussed yesterday, we unpacked the meaning of this verse, Kleshagni Shubhada Moksha Lakuta Krit Sadulaba Sandra Ananda Visheshatma Sri Krishna Akashani Jasa. This verse we went through very carefully. Each word we described yesterday. So now we've come to page 437, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Babaji, is just explaining now at this point that logic and rationale have no place in the realm of Shuddha Bhakti. As soon as we start to use logic and rationale, it's like mental speculation starts to come in, and we lose connection with the essential current of bhakti. And we do this with logic and rationale out of fear of the truth. The truth is sublime, soft, gentle, sweet. Bhakti Devi. She's very sacred, special. But we run from there, and we take shelter of the intellect, thinking that that will help me cross this line into transcendence. This is what we're going to discuss. So Brajanath says at the end of that comment, I'll read the last sentence on page 437 of the paragraph underneath the verse, which starts, then it is also said, Taraka Pratishtanat. So at the end of that paragraph it's saying, all these statements of the Vedanta establish that logic cannot explain spiritual matters. We must be very, very clear on, because there are so many brilliant scholars in the world, and they will be able to quote from Shastra extensively, and they will be able to present so many wonderful, novel, fascinating ideas and conceptions. But if there's no current of bhakti, if they don't have realization of the bhakti, what do we say? The Tasmad Guru Prabhatyeta Jigna Shusre Utman Shabde Pare Tanishnantam Brahmani Upashamashrayam. These three qualities of the pure devotee we must look for. The first is that he must be fully conversant with all the scriptures. That's the first quality. And the second, most important, he must be realized in these truths. And the third, all three of these have to be present in the pure spiritual master. And the third is most important, that he must be totally, utterly detached from everything in this material world. This is what we can see easily in our experience of meeting somebody. We can tell, surely within a short while, how attached and how detached they are from the material world. So this is the symptom of a pure devotee. He knows knowledge, he has knowledge, and he's realized in that knowledge, and he's utterly detached from everything in the material world. So this is the pure devotee. These are the uttam or madhyam uttam bhaktas that we're searching for their association. We have to be clear on this, tattva and siddhanta. So now Brajanath is asking, is there any stage of bhakti when sudden bhakti, is there any stage of bhakti between sudden bhakti and prema bhakti? So this was the last thing we read yesterday. Babaji, yes, certainly. There are 3 stages of development of bhakti: sudden bhakti, bhav bhakti, and prema bhakti. So we've also spoken about this many times. Brajanath, what are the characteristics of sudden bhakti? So now we're going to start walking through it carefully. Babaji, bhakti is one. The differences are between the different stages of development. Bhakti is one, devotion is one, but there are stages of development of that bhakti. As long as bhakti is performed by the conditioned jiva by means of his senses, it is called sudden bhakti. If we're using the material senses, it's called sadhan bhakti. It hasn't entered the heart region. It hasn't become internalized. Brajanath, you have explained that prema bhakti is an eternally perfect mood, nitya siddha bhav. So why is it necessary to practice in order to attain a sentiment that is eternally perfect? So we have the beautiful verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Surachita Korya Udai. And this is saying that this Shuddha Bhakti is an eternal reality within the heart of the jiva, and it cannot be woken up by sadhan. It can only be woken up ultimately by shravanam and kirtan under the guidance of a pure devotee, under the guidance of someone who has already realized this truth. I'll read you the exact translation. Krishna Prem is a potentiality which eternally exists in the hearts of the living entities. It is not brought about by sadhan. It manifests itself by the mercy of a Nitya Siddha Guru in the heart purified by sadhan. The performance of the various limbs of bhakti, such as Shravanam and Kirtanam. So Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitta Korya Udai. This is saying exactly the same that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying here. Babaji, Nitya Siddha Bhav is not actually something to be gained from elsewhere, sadhya. That is, it cannot be produced by sadhan. I was listening to my Srila Gurudev today, and he was saying, sadhan bhakti is not as important as your relationship with your guru. You can do copious amounts of sadhan, but if you don't have a tight, close relationship with your guru, your sadhan bhakti is going to be quite minimal. It's not going to be of great value. This is what he was saying. I was listening in one Vilap Kusumanjali lecture this morning. My Gurudev is saying, sadhan is not so important. What is most important is actually your relationship with Guru. But at the same time, Guru wants us to perform sadhan. The sadhan must be performed to attain bhav. We'll describe. I'll start from the beginning. Babaji is saying, Nitya Siddha Bhav is not actually something to be gained from elsewhere, sadhya. That is, it cannot be produced by sadhan. Sadhan is a name given to the practice of manifesting bhav in the heart. As long as it is not manifested in the heart due to being covered by ignorance, etc., one will have to perform sadhan. In reality, this bhav is nitya siddha, eternally present in the heart. We also say kriti sadhya bhavat sadhya bhavsa sadhanabhida nitya siddhyasya bhavasya prakatamriti sadhyate. Rupa Goswami has said like this, that in order to achieve bhav, which is an eternal truth within the heart of the jiva, in potential. It's there in potential. It's like a seed. It's in potential. It needs nourishing by the water of hearing and kirtan, shravanadi. By hearing and kirtan, this will nourish the seed of bhakti within the heart. And it starts with that sadhan. But the sadhan must be focused on bhav bhakti to be a reality. If the sadhan bhakti is not focused on bhav bhakti, and again, my Gurudev has said this so many times, that your sadhan amounts to zero. If it's not actually being focused on bhav bhakti, what then is the focus of our sadhan? Obviously, some material desires are there if it's not being focused on bhav. So all of our practice must be focused on bhav bhakti. And then the question, of course, will come, what is bhav bhakti? This will be discussed. Certainly, Brajanath, the top of page 438. Brajanath, will you please explain this principle more elaborately? Babaji, certainly Prema Bhakti is Nitya Siddha, eternally perfect, because it is a manifestation of Bhagavan's internal Shakti. But it is not evident in the heart of the conditioned jiva. It's there in potential. Spiritual practice, sadhan, consists of the efforts of the body, mind, and speech to make it appear in the heart. It's already in the heart, but to make it appear in the heart. The sadhan is going to help that make it appear in the heart. As long as bhav is not actually attained during the period of sadhan, it is considered a sentiment that is achieved by practice. A sentiment, not a reality. But its eternal perfection becomes evident as soon as it manifests itself in the heart. So this sadhan is to bring us into the stage of bhav within the heart. This feeling of deep attraction, attachment to service to the Lord. Becoming more and more attracted to the Lord. Not, in other words, not just performing ritualistic acts like robots. Just Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, not thinking what we're doing. Just going to the temple, having full of material desires, etc. Not really knowing what we're doing. Not really knowing what our goal is. We must know clearly what is the sadhya, what is the goal. And then our sadhan will have some success. Brajanath, what is the distinguishing characteristic feature of sadhan? Babaji, sadhan bhakti is any method that trains the mind to become Krishna conscious. So this is the first step. Any method that trains the mind to become Krishna conscious. Beautiful statement. Brajanath, how many kinds of sadhan bhakti are there? Babaji, there are two kinds, Vaidhi and Raganuga. Brajanath, what is Vaidhi bhakti? Babaji, the jiva's spiritual propensity is manifest in two ways. The regulations found in the codes of Shastra are called Vidhi, and the inclination that has its origin in this Vidhi is called Vaidhi Pravritti, the tendency to follow Shastra. And Bhakti, that is caused by the discipline of Shastra is called Vaidhi Bhakti, because it has its origin in Vaidhi Pravritti. Very important to appreciate Vaidhi, then we can appreciate what is Raganuga, unless we understand what is Vaidhi clearly. So Vaidhi is this following the Shastras very strictly. It's described that Vaidhi is actually governed by the quality of fear. One is fearful, therefore he performs the rules and regulations. But this is not going to melt the heart beyond a very high stage. Vaidhi Bhakti can bring us perhaps to the realm of Vaikuntha even, the realm of liberation. Vaikuntha is like a glorified liberated state. So that stage can be achieved. Brajanath, I will inquire about the characteristics of spontaneous attraction rag a little later. Now will you kindly describe the characteristics of vidhi? Babaji, the Shastras have prescribed regulative duties called vidhi and have prohibited certain forbidden activities called nisheda. The prescribed duty, Vaidhi Dharma, for the jivas is to follow all the regulations and to avoid all the prohibited activities. Quite clear. Brajanath, from your explanation, it seems as if Vaidhi Dharma consists of the rules and regulations of all the Shastras, but the jivas of Kali Yuga are weak and short-lived, so they cannot study the prescriptions and prohibitions of all the Shastras and then ascertain Vaidhi Dharma. Do the Shastras indicate how we can determine Vidhi Nisheda briefly and practically? Bhaktivinoda Thakur is trying to give us something very special here. Babaji, it is written in the Padma Purana 42:103 and Narada Pancharatna 4:223, Smartavya Shatatam Vishnu Vishmartavya Nagatuchit. Sarve Vidhi Nisheda Syur Etayo Eva Kinkaraha. Always remember Vishnu and never forget him. All the other prohibitions and recommendations are servitors of these two instructions. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. We're beginning to understand what is the essential initial stage of bhakti within the realm of the regulative path of Vaidhi Bhakti. And it's also saying that by careful practice of this Vaidhi Bhakti, then that can be, then the jewel of Rag Marg can descend in the heart of the practitioner if he's practicing that Vaidhi Bhakti sincerely. But there are different conceptions here. We have to look at the very subtle nuances between Vaidhi and Rag. The purport is that the arrangement of all the various kinds of Vidhi and Nisheda within the Shastras are based on these two basic sentences. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Always remember Krishna is the positive and never forget Krishna is the negative. Duty, Vidhi, is ascertained to be that which makes one constantly remember Bhagavan. The forbidden acts, Nisheda, are those which make one forget. Remember Bhagavan Sri Vishnu constantly throughout your life. This is the basic prescription, Vidhi, and the arrangements of Varnashram and so on for the maintenance of the jivas are subject to it. Never forget Krishna. This Nisheda is the basic prohibition. Everything else, such as abandoning sinful activities, avoiding the tendency to divert one's attention from Krishna, Krishna Bhakira Mukata, and atoning for sinful activities are all subordinate to this basic Vidhi Nisheda. Therefore, all the rules and prohibitions described in the Shastras are eternal servants of the rule to remember Krishna constantly, and the prohibition is to never forget him. So these are the principles of Vaidhi Bhakti. Whereas in Ragmarg, for example, there's no question of making an effort even, because you've actually fallen in love with Krishna, so to speak, in your heart. Raganuga, you've cultivated this vision, this focus on the sweetness and speciality of Brajendrananda and Shyam Sundar. Whereas Vaidhi Bhakti will have a different focus from the very beginning. Therefore, all the rules and prohibitions described in the Shastras are eternal servants of the rule to remember Krishna constantly, and the prohibition is to never forget him. It follows that the regulation to remember Krishna is the fundamental principle amongst all the regulations of Varnashram and other such institutions. Shri Kamasha Uvacha Mukhya Bahura Padayabhyai Purushasya Ramai Saha Chatvaro Jagnir Vana Gunai Vipradaya Pratak Ya Esham Purusham Sakshat Atma Prabham Ishvaram Na Vavantya Avanjananti Stanad Brasta Pratyanti Adaha. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5-3. Sri Chamasa said, the Brahmanas came into existence from the mouth of the primordial Sri Vishnu, the Kshatriyas from his arms, the Vaishyas from his thighs, and the Sudras from his feet. These 4 Varnas were born along with their particular characteristics, as were the 4 specific ashrams. A person living amongst these Varnas and ashrams becomes intoxicated by his high social position, Varna, and spiritual position, ashram, and fails to worship his Ishtadev, Bhagavan Sri Vishnu, or even disrespects him. Such a person falls down from his position in the system of Varna and ashram, loses all his prestige, and then takes birth in the lower species. So this is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam, that within this Varna ashram system, the potential to become very proud of one's position within the Varna ashram social order. This is there, and when pride is there, when I'm comparing myself with others in society, etc., when that consideration is strong, then this mood of pride will easily come in the heart, this competitive nature. So now this is going to be unpacked further. This is fascinating. Brajanath, why doesn't everyone who follows the regulations of Varnashram practice Krishna Bhakti? So, simple question. Babaji, Srila Rupa Goswami explains that amongst all those who follow the regulations of Shastra, only those who develop faith in Bhakti are eligible to engage in Bhakti. So Varnashram doesn't necessarily indicate Bhakti, but Bhakti has an opportunity to be taught more easily within the Varnashram institution. It gives support, but it doesn't necessitate that Bhakti will necessarily flourish. This is the first proposition that Ramananda Rai gives to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Godavari when he's asking what is the perfection of life. And Ramananda Rai, he says this Varnashram system, but what is Mahaprabhu's objection to this? He said this is only external. This is still just about the body. It's not about the bhav or the mood of attraction to Krishna. Therefore, it cannot be sustained beyond the bodily experience of it. Understand? To have it, to connect with the eternal nature of the jiva requires practice in this specific path of bhakti. Actually, not even just Vaidhi Bhakti, but Raganuga Bhakti. Those who are not attracted towards the regulations of material life, nor do they renounce material life. They are not attracted. I'll just read this again. Srila Rupa Goswami explains that amongst all those who follow the regulations of Shastra, Only those who develop faith in bhakti are eligible to engage in bhakti. They are not attracted towards the regulations of material life, nor do they renounce material life. So neither way. Rupa Goswami says like this: one who is not too attached from material life and not too detached from material life can actually manage his development of Krishna bhakti. If you're too renounced, then it turns into very dry renunciation. And obviously, if you're too attached, you're going to get submerged by material desires. Rather, they follow the ways of ordinary civilized life to maintain their livelihood, and at the same time practice the sadhana of Shuddha Bhakti with faith. In other words, you're not doing anything dramatically extreme either way. You're following what is necessary for your functioning in whatever ashram you're in, to provide if you're in family life, etc., to take care of your dependents, and you're not suddenly going to renounce that, but internally something can be happening, but externally we should follow the civilized codes of behavior in life generally. A civilized jiva becomes qualified to engage in bhakti as a result of sukriti accumulated in the course of many lives. There are three types of such faithful people: the kanishta, neophyte; the madhyam, intermediate bhakta; and the uttam, high exalted bhakta. Brajanath, it is said in Bhagavad Gita that four kinds of people perform bhakti: artha, those who are distressed; jignashu, the inquisitive; atharthi, those who desire wealth; and gyanis, those who are searching for knowledge of the Absolute. What kind of bhakti are they qualified for? So we're starting from the very beginning here. We're going through the idea of Vaidhi Bhakti and who's qualified even to perform Vaidhi Bhakti from the first place. Babaji, when they associate with saintly sadhus, everything comes down to this. Their distress, their inquisitiveness, their desire for wealth, and their desire for knowledge are removed, and they develop faith in unalloyed devotional service. Only by meeting someone whose faith in devotional service is strong will we make progress. This is 100% necessary. This is what has been told throughout this whole Jaiva Dharma, actually. Then they immediately become qualified for engaging in bhakti. The prominent examples of this are Gajendra, Sonika, and the other rishis in Naimisharanya, Dhruva and the four Kumaras respectively. So we know this from Bhagavad Gita. These four types of persons who are eligible for bhakti, and the description of this. Prajna, do devotees attain liberation at all? Babaji, there are 5 kinds of liberation. Salokya, to live on the same planet as Bhagavan. Sharsti, to have the same opulences as Bhagavan. Samipya, to have constant association with Bhagavan. Sarupya, to attain bodily features similar to Bhagavan's. And Sayuja, to become one with Bhagavan. Bhaktas of Sri Krishna do not accept Sayuja Mukti at any cost, because it is blatantly opposed to the principles of bhakti. Salokya, Sharsti, Samipya, and Sarupya are not fully opposed to bhakti. These are the liberations of Vaikuntha. But they still retain some adverse elements. The bhaktas of Krishna also completely reject these 4 kinds of liberation that are manifest in Sri Narayan's abode. So again, Ramananda Rai is rejecting, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is rejecting this proposal by Ramananda Rai, these 4 liberated conditions. In some circumstances, these forms of liberation provide comforts and opulences, whereas in their matured stages, they guide one towards prema bhakti. They can assist towards prema bhakti if we don't get distracted by the affluence, we can say, this taranga rangini, the pleasures of liberation, the material pleasures it can afford. If their ultimate result is only comfort and opulence, bhaktas should simply reject them. This is not our quest to find comfort and opulence in this world, because then we'll certainly forget Krishna. We've just discussed smartavya shatadam Vishnu, vishmartavya nagatachit, always to remember Krishna and never to forget Krishna. What to speak of liberation? Even Narayan's prasad does not appeal to the unalloyed bhaktas of Sri Krishna. Sri Narayan and Sri Krishna have the same fundamental form and nature, swarup, from the point of view of Siddhanta. But from the viewpoint of rasa, Sri Krishna's super excellent glory is an eternal fact. So from this consideration of rasa, then everything changes. Brajanath. Is it only those who are born in Aryan families and who follow the regulations of Varnashram who are eligible to engage in bhakti? Babaji. This is a very beautiful sentence. The entire human race is qualified to attain eligibility for bhakti. One time Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said also, he was asked, who is a Vaishnava? Bhaktivinoda Thakur responded, everyone is a Vaishnava. Some know it and some don't know it. But essentially everyone is a Vaishnava because everyone essentially is a servant of the Supreme. Some know that and are practicing to realize that more fully, and others don't know that. And we're all on different stages and different degrees in our realization and practice of this one truth, this service towards the Lord. Brajanath, in that case, it seems that people who are situated in Varnashram have to follow two sets of duties, the regulations of Varnashram and the rules of Shuddha Bhakti, whereas those situated outside Varnashram have only one duty, which is to follow the limbs, angas of Bhakti. This means that people situated in Varnashram have to endeavor more because they have to follow both the material regulations and the spiritual regulations. Why is this? Understand? Babaji, a bhakta who is qualified for Shuddha Bhakti may be situated in Varnashram, but his only duty is to follow the anga of Bhakti, and then all his worldly duties are fulfilled automatically if we follow Bhakti. There is no fault in neglecting worldly duties where they are independent of Bhakti or opposed to it. If some activity, even though it's within the Varnashram, if it's opposed to our development of Bhakti, it can be neglected. A qualified Bhakti is by his very nature not inclined to neglect prescribed duties or to perform forbidden activity. If in spite of this he accidentally commits some sinful activity, he does not have to perform the penances that are prescribed in the rules governing karma. When bhakti resides in the heart, sins that the bhakti commits by chance do not create a lasting impression, and they are destroyed very easily and quickly. That is why bhaktas do not need to perform any separate penance. Bhakti itself will incinerate those sins, klesh agni, incinerate those sufferings. Brajanath, how can a qualified bhakta repay his debts to the devas and others? Babaji, it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam that those who are under the shelter of Bhagavan are not indebted to anyone. Devarshi bhutapta nirnam pitrinam na kinkaro nyam mrini cha rajan sarvatmana ya shranam saranyam gato mukundam parihritya kartam. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.41. One who completely surrenders to Bhagavan Mukunda, the affectionate protector of the surrendered souls, no longer remains indebted to the devatas, forefathers, other living beings, kinsmen or guests. He is not subordinate to anyone, and he is not obliged to serve anyone. Very beautiful verse. The purport of the final instruction of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharma Parityaja Mam Ekam Saranam Braja, is that Sri Krishna releases one from all sins if he has given up all sorts of duties and comes to his shelter. You understanding everything? Now it's becoming more simple, more clear. The essence of the Gita is that when a person becomes qualified for unalloyed bhakti, he is no longer obliged to follow the regulations of Gyan Shastra and Karma Shastra. On the contrary, he attains all perfection simply by following the path of bhakti. That is why Sri Krishna declares, "Na me bhakti pranashyati," my bhakta is never vanquished. Therefore, this promise of Sri Krishna should be held above all. When Vijay Kumar and Brajnath heard these words, they said, "We have no further doubts in our hearts concerning bhakti. We have understood that jnana and karma are of little consequence, and that without the mercy of Bhakti Devi, there is no auspiciousness for the jiva. Prabhu, now please be merciful and make our lives successful by telling us about the angas of Shuddha Bhakti." So we'll discuss this tomorrow. So, very powerful precepts Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given us today, trying to understand clearly with the heart and mind, or mind and heart. First it comes in the mental faculty, and then we bring these truths into the heart region and pray for realization of these truths. So, something for our contemplation. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Okay, we actually come to page 443, right at the bottom. Yesterday we were discussing about Jaiva Dharma. Vaishnava Dharma. No, Varnashram Dharma, sorry. My words, language getting different. To some degree. And we unpacked the idea, the understanding that Varnashram is very supportive of bhakti, but is not the principle. Within the Varnashram system, unless bhakti is being practiced, then the Varnashram system itself doesn't have much value. The Varnashram system can support the practice of bhakti. And if that's not taken advantage of, and you're just applying yourself to your ashram and varna within that system, then it's completely material. This was the reason why Mahaprabhu rejected it. He said, this is material. This is applying to the material. If you're thinking, I am a brahmana, and the example is given by that quote, that verse, one might become very proud of that. He says, a person living amongst these varnas becomes intoxicated by his high social position. You can become very proud in this varnashram society of your various qualifications within the society. They'll put qualifications on you. So anything to do in that direction is going to be detrimental for your bhakti. But if your bhakti is supported by this, then we can make good progress. Because Varnashram is the most wonderful principle. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada wanted to introduce it in the whole world to make a foundation, a platform. So there are two aspects to it. We should be very clear on this. This is what we discussed yesterday. So then at the end of that discussion, they asked, Prabhu, now please be merciful and make our lives successful by telling us about the angas of Shuddha Bhakti. This is at the bottom of page 443. Tell us about the angas of Shuddha Bhakti. Babaji. Brajanath, you have heard Das Mula as far as the 8th shloka. You may relate them to your uncle later. I feel very satisfied to see him. Now listen to the 9th shloka. I always pick up on the mood of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's cultured behavior. Babaji doesn't fail to express his respect towards Vijay Kumar. This atmosphere of respect is always flowing nicely in the Vaishnava community. When respect is prominent, and we've said many times, respect is very close to love. It's a quality of love. This mood of respecting each person's situation. Basically, we're respecting the Paramatma within each other. Also, there's a chapter 10, we talked about when the mullah came with all the Muslims when they were reciting Chaitanya Bhagavat, and it's described how the Vaishnavas would focus on the Paramatma within the heart of all those Muslims and offer them respects. They were offering respect to that Paramatma within their hearts. So that kind of respectful vision must be cultivated by the Vaishnava. That creates auspiciousness all around. So now is the 9th Das Mula. Shruti Krishna Kanam Smaran Nati Puja Vida Ganaha Tata Dasyam Sakyam Paricharanam Api Atma Dadanam Navanganyetak Nihi Niha Vidigata Bhaktya Anudinam Bhajan Shraddha Yukta Suvimala Ratim Vai Sa Labhyate. Das Mula 9. One should perform bhajan of the 9 processes of Vaidhi Bhakti, namely hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving Krishna's lotus feet, acting as Krishna's servant, becoming Krishna's friend, and surrendering oneself fully to Sri Krishna. One who with faith daily practices bhajan in this way certainly achieves pure Krishna Rati. So by this practice of Vidhi Marg, it will gradually bring us to the platform of Bhav Bhakti. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says very beautifully, Vidhi Marg Rata Jane Swadhinata Ratna Dane Rag Marg Karuna Pravesh. Krishna eventually bestows the jewel of independence unto those persons who strictly adhere to the path of rules and regulations, thus allowing them entrance into the path of spontaneous loving devotion. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says like this in Kalyana Kalpataru. So this jewel of independence, because basically Raganuga Bhakti, the independent jiva, his spontaneous attraction will develop and flourish. Under the rules and regulations, that independence does not flourish because we're bound by fear. We're bound by honoring every injunction of the Shastra. There is some restriction. Whereas Raganuga Bhakti is bound by what? What is the quality of Rag Marg? What is the quality of Raganuga Bhakti?
Attraction.
Huh?
Spontaneous attraction.
What is the quality of Raganuga Bhakti?
Greed.
Greed. Thank you. Greed. Greed is the only quality. Enthusiasm, greed. Where does greed come from? We know all about greed. We know all about material greed. We've been suffering in this world of material greed for so long. We're wanting something, wanting something, wanting something. Now, when we change that focus of my intention, my desire, to wanting service to Braja Prem, service to the divine couple, this greed is going to take us to the highest conception. But this is the quality of Raganuga Bhakti exclusively, is greed. It eclipses everything else.
And it comes from the association with the sun.
Yes, that pure devotee, that Mahabhagavat, he has that transcendental lobha, that transcendental greed. Krishna Bhakti Rasabhavitamati Kriyatam Yati Talapite Tatra Lolyam Apimulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Shukriti Alatapite. It's saying, this place in the Rai Ramananda Samvad dialogue, after going through Varnashram, so many Nishkam Yoga, Shunyavad Yoga, etc., so many different stages, Ramananda Rai quotes this verse, and Mahaprabhu says, yes, this I can accept. This lolyam. If there is that current anywhere, I should run as fast as I can to catch that current. That should be my intention, to connect with that lobha.
If it's there. If it's not there, then
No, we're not talking about if it's not there. Don't criticize. No. We're saying adamantly, if that current is flourishing, then we run there and we take it. Actually, I forgot to mention when I was glorifying my Gurudev, how in that 20 years between Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj, there was another great personality, that was Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj. He also possessed that same current of greed for seva to Srimati Radhika in Vrindavan. He also possessed that. So there's never a vacancy, actually, in the munificence of Krishna bestowing this mercy of Mahaprabhu. There's always someone is there carrying that current to infuse the devotees. It's this enthusiasm that we can interpret as greed. Greed must be there. Greed will climb over. Huh?
The word for enthusiasm. The word.
Loba. Loba. Loba means greed.
Yeah.
Loba.
Another word for enthusiasm. Never mind.
I'll think of it. Utsaha. Yes, utsaha. Utsaha. Yes, utsaha. Utsaha nischaya darayat. This Rupa Goswami is saying this right at the beginning. This utsaha. Yes.
Maharaj, is it possible to repeat that verse from Kalyana Kalpataru?
Yes. I'll post it on our WhatsApp thread also. Vidi mag rata jane swadinata ratna dane. Rag mag karuna pravesh. Krishna eventually bestows the jewel of independence unto those persons who strictly adhere to the path of rules and regulations, there thus allowing them entrance into the path of spontaneous loving devotion. There has to be a platform. Otherwise, what will ensue is Sahajiism. If there's no platform of respect, like we were just talking about, if there's no platform of respect for the Shastra, if that hasn't been accumulated, if it's just spontaneous, you might just have a natural inclination for those things, but without the proper Siddhantic vision. That Siddhanta must be there. Otherwise, the avidya, the ignorance, is still there. The ignorance has to be purified first. I've described many times how Raghunath Das Goswami, our Prayojan Acharya, it's described that he had the rules and regulations like lines carved in stone within him. And my Gurudev personally, who spoke on such lofty Rasik topics, never once transgressed the Maryad of the Vaishnava etiquette. Not once. I was with him for more than 20 years, and there was never a single instance when he would say, right, now I'm going to chill out or something, or relax a little bit or something of that nature. Never and was there any transgression at any time in his behavior? Not ever. So the Mahabhagavat, he can't go that route. It just has zero taste. So now I'll continue on page 444. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vandanam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, and Atmanivedanam. Those who daily practice these 9 limbs of Vaidhi Bhakti with faith attain pure love for Sri Krishna. That's just like the verse that I've just said, quoted from this Vidimag Ratajani. Hearing, Shravana, takes place when the descriptions of Krishna's transcendental holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes come in contact with the ears. There are 2 stages of Shravanam. Now we have to listen. The first stage is hearing descriptions of Krishna's qualities in the association of Shuddha Bhaktas before developing Shraddha. So this is prior, before developing Shraddha. This is in the pre-stage. This is what will bring us to the stage of Shraddha by hearing Krishna's pastimes. This type of Shravan creates faith so that one develops a keen desire to hear Sri Krishna Nam and his qualities. That's in the initial stage. After one has developed such faith, one hears Krishna's transcendental names and qualities with great eagerness from Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas, and that is the second kind of Shravan. So he's just made this distinction here. Shravan is one of the limbs of Shuddha Bhakti, and Shravan is the perfected stage. In the perfected stage is manifested as a result of hearing from Guru and Vaishnavas in the stage of spiritual practice. Shravan is the first anga of bhakti. So this actually sound vibration. Sound is the initial quality that descends into this material world. This sound is ultimately coming from Krishna's flute sound, flute song. It's sound vibration that is producing this entire creation. It's coming from sound. Just like we have the experience of sound with the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Even if we're not being attentive to it, the sound vibration will still purify the consciousness. That's why we go on Harinam Sankirtan. We know that they're meat eaters and drunkards and so on, that we're chanting the holy name too, but we know the power of it. It can actually penetrate through those dull layers of consciousness and tweak the dormant spirit soul and this Nitya Prem that is dormant within the heart. Kirtan takes place when Sri Harinam and the descriptions of his form, quality and pastimes come in contact with the tongue. There are many different varieties of kirtan, such as discussions on Krishna's pastimes, describing Sri Krishna Nam, reading from Shastra to others, attracting others to Krishna by singing about him, uttering entreaties to invoke his mercy, proclaiming his glories to others, chanting bhajans in praise of the deity, offering prayers and so on. Kirtan has been described as superior to all the other 9 angas of bhakti, and this is especially true in Kali Yuga, when Kirtan alone can bestow auspiciousness upon everyone. My Gurudev often used to say, who is the greatest Kirtaniya? Who is the greatest Kirtaniya? Shukadev Goswami. Shukadev Goswami speaks this Srimad Bhagavatam, all 18,000 verses. He speaks this Bhagavatam. He's proclaimed the greatest Kirtaniya. And there are all different types of Kirtan. Glorification of Krishna's pastimes, reading, prayers that Babaji has just said here. This is stated in all Shastras. Dayanam krite yajan yagnas treta yam dvarpaya rachayan. Yad apnoti tad apnoti kalo sankirtya keshavam. This is from the Padma Purana. This is like the verse that I just said earlier on today. Kalera dosha nidhi rajan asti hyeko mahan gunai. That in this age of Kali, the greatest mercy, the greatest quality is this sound vibration of the holy name. This is from the Bhagavatam also. Whatever is achieved in Satya Yuga by meditation, in Treta Yuga by the performance of yagya, and in Dwarpa Yuga by worshipping Krishna's lotus feet, is also attained in the age of Kali simply by chanting the glorification of Sri Keshava. So we presented a beautiful document on WhatsApp previously, and we can send it around again, of the practices in the previous ages, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwarpa Yuga, and how the result of those practices, even though the ages appear materially to be so superior to Kali Yuga, the actual result of that tapasya or that austerity or that worship of the Lord is so inferior, because in those previous ages Braja Prem is not being bestowed, because Mahaprabhu had not appeared to bestow it. We have to appreciate more daily the enormity of Mahaprabhu's gift of distributing this Braja Prem, Braja Ras. It's monumental what he came to give in the sound of the Hare Krishna mantra. Did I read all the translation? Finished it?
No other method.
Huh?
No other method.
No other method purifies the heart as effectively as Hari Kirtan. When many devotees perform Kirtan together, it is called Sankirtan. San means with. It's a prefix meaning with. Kirtan means with lots of people. Remembering Krishna's name, fame, qualities and pastimes is called smaranam, of which there are 5 kinds. Smaranam means to contemplate some object that has previously been heard of or experienced. Dharna means to fix the mind on a particular subject, withdrawing it from other objects. Dhyanam means to meditate on a specific form. When dhyanam is unbroken like a continuous flow of a stream of precious oil, it is called Dhruvanushmriti. And samadhi is the state in which one is oblivious to outside reality and only aware of the objects of meditation in one's heart. So it's a stage-by-stage progression. It's wonderful for us to hear these step-by-step. So many of our goals, aspirations is giving in systematic steps. Makes it simple for us, just like in a classroom, in a schoolroom, you can go class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, like that. So that experience is there. Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Smaranam are the 3 primary angas of bhakti, for all the other angas are included within them. And of these 3 angas, Kirtan is the best and most important, because Shravanam and Smaranam can be included within it. Shravanam is hearing and Smaranam is remembering. So Kirtan invokes hearing and remembering. So within Kirtan there is Shravanam and Smaranam. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Hearing and chanting about Sri Vishnu's transcendental name, form, qualities and so on, remembering them, serving his lotus feet, worshipping him with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to him, becoming his servant, adopting a friendly mood towards him, and surrendering everything unto him, in other words, serving him with the body, mind and words, these 9 are accepted as Shuddha Bhakti. Our topic is Shuddha Bhakti. What is Shuddha Bhakti? This is our topic. These are the pillars of Shuddha Bhakti. These are the angas of Shuddha Bhakti that we're going through. The 4th anga of Bhakti is performing service, Padaseva or Paricharya. Padasevya must also be performed together with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada taught us that very strongly. Any function or anything that is happening, always the Hare Krishna mantra has to be chanted. Anything that's going on, always the Hare Krishna mantra must be there. Then it can be perfected. One should perform Padaseva with a humble attitude, understanding that one is unqualified for the service. Wonderful. One is unqualified for the service. Never think we're qualified. What qualification? Maybe a few years experience or something like that. What qualification is that? We have no qualification. We're always thinking that I am bereft of everything, just like the acharyas in all their bhajans, etc., their beautiful Vaishnava songs are proclaiming themselves to be bereft of any good qualities. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj himself in the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, I am like a worm in stool. If someone hears my name, then he is invoking inauspiciousness. He really means it. For us, we think, oh yes, I'll say that, then people will think, oh, he's so humble. You know, but for these personalities, it's the truth. They really, really feel that because they have seen the height of the spiritual reality. So therefore, they can see the insignificance of this material reality. You understand? This is the distinction, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur's. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he said very clearly that if a man comes to the shore of the material ocean, he feels very humbled by the potency and power of the ocean, just naturally. What to speak of that soul who comes to the shore of the transcendental ocean? How completely bereft does he feel of any quality, any standing? What do we have to bring to the table if suddenly Krishna is standing in front of us? There's nothing from this material world that's going to impress Krishna. We spent our lives trying to impress each other with our apparent greatness of our false egos. But when we actually see the real spiritual master, how can one feel that I have something to bring of glory? That means we're not recognizing the spiritual master if we feel that. Always one should, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself said to those sannyasis in Prayag, he said, my spiritual master called me a fool. I always felt like a fool in front of my spiritual master. He just told me to chant Hare Krishna. This quality of humility is very, very, and we come to the other expression of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. Why do we even have a false ego? To shield us from the horror of our total insignificance. That's why we have a false ego. Because I am actually utterly insignificant. But today we have a material disease called low self-esteem, and people get mixed up with that. They think this is something spiritual. Actually, it's a mental disorder. It's a material disease. My mother beat me when I was young, I was deprived, or this or that. So many shocking things that happen in Kali Yuga, in childhood, where people get deprived of their natural, confident state in the material stage. You understand? And they try to overlap that into imagining that I'm spiritual because I feel like that. No, that's just a dysfunction. That's a material dysfunction. And still has to be addressed with love and affection and, you know, as much support as we can offer. But it's not spiritual. Only the great souls express real humility. Even you'll see this amongst musicians. If you ever have the fortune to meet a real musician, he will be the most humble. If he's a real musician, because he'll never be riding on his previous acclaim. He'll always be moving forward to newer and newer realms of music. He's never walking around thinking, oh, how great. If he actually is a real musician, he'll be always inspired and moving forward. We see historically there are many, Beethoven, Bach, Brahms, so many personalities. And their whole life they were creating their concerto. They wouldn't stop. So like that, the same principle is there that I'm saying. It is also essential to realize the object of service as such Chit Ananda, the embodiment of eternity, knowledge and bliss. Padaseva includes seeing the face of Sri Krishna's deity form, touching him, circumambulating him, following him and visiting holy places such as Sri Bhagavan's temple, the Ganga, Jagannath Puri, Dwarka, Mathura, Navadvip, and so forth. Sri Rupa Goswami has presented these in a very clear and vivid way in his description of the 64 Angas of Bhakti. Service to Sri Tulsi and Shuddha Bhaktas is also included within this Anga. The fifth Anga of worship, Archan, There are many considerations regarding qualification and methods of worship. If one is attracted to the path of Archan, even after being engaged in Shravanam Kirtan and Smaranam, then one should perform Archan after properly accepting Diksha Mantra from Sri Gurudev. Okay? Clear? Brajanath, what is the difference between Naam and Mantra? Babaji, Sri Hari's name is the life and soul of mantra. The rishis have added words such as Namaha, obeisances, to Sri Harinam and disclosed its specific power. Sri Harinam by nature has nothing to do with this material world, whereas the jiva, because of various bodily designations provided by Maya, is entrapped by objects consisting of dead matter. What an incredible sentence. I'll read it again. Whereas the jiva, because of various bodily designations provided by Maya, these are all Mayic temporary manifestations that we're engrossed in, is entrapped by objects consisting of dead matter, including my body. My body is dull matter. My body is going to just disintegrate into dust. It's not eternal. It's all to give us the clear focus on what is the pure aspect, what is the eternal aspect within my being, and simply focus on that in this life. Nothing else. Nothing else. Can we do that? No, not for a single minute. But I have my wife, I have my child, I have my job, I have my house, I have all my, bank balance. All this is so important for me.
Basically, what this is all saying, Uttama Bhakti means to become absorbed in transcendence and less and less.
Exclusively, yes. And it's a process. Less and less, like you say. It's a balance. We're trying to balance it gradually, step by step, day by day. Pull the balance more in Krishna's favor, day by day, slowly. You can't take a quantum leap here. You'll just upset everyone around you. You'll upset yourself. That won't work. It can't be fanatical. It is fanatical in one sense, that's the direction you're going. But at the same time, the changes within our life should be gradual. Then they'll be able to be sustained. If we suddenly make some huge jump, you can only go one step at a time. And on each step, you should be looking at the next step and carefully place one foot on that step. And then you have to release the next step, let it go, and then you put that foot on the next step like that. It's a process. It is a process. We've run over our time. I'll just go a little bit more. See how we can go. Consequently, in order to detach the jiva's mind from sense objects, different principles of archan have been established on the path of regulated devotional service. Yes, in order to detach our mind from sense objects. This is the objective. Maryad Marg. It is essential for materialistic people to accept diksha. When one chants the Krishna mantra, Siddha, Sadhya, Susiddha, Adi are not considered. So this is described afterwards. We'll come back to it. Initiation into the exclusive chanting of the Krishna mantra is extremely beneficial for the jiva. For of all the different mantras in the world, the Krishna mantra is the most powerful. Why are we talking about Krishna mantra now? Because we're talking about Shravanam. We're talking about Smaranam. These mantras invoke hearing and remembering. A bona fide disciple receives strength from Krishna immediately when a bona fide spiritual master initiates him into this mantra. After initiation, Gurudev educates the inquiring disciple concerning the performance of archan. Briefly, archan marg includes the observance of Sri Krishna's appearance day, fasting in Kartik month, observing Ekadasi, taking bath in the month of Magh, and other such activities. One should also understand that one must certainly worship Krishna's bhaktas as well as Krishna himself on the path of archan. Understand the distinction, though, between archan and bhajan. There's a distinction, a large distinction. Archan is external and bhajan is internal. Your archan is performed with the gross material body. Your worship, your puja, etc., your vibrating the mantras, etc. This is all archan. But bhajan is that internal reflection on the form and qualities of Krishna. The two are related totally, because we perform our archan to purify the gross material body. When the gross material body gradually becomes purified, then gradually bhajan becomes introduced more and more into our consciousnesses. We're able to reflect, introspect internally more and more on the path of bhajan. Seva sadak rupena, siddha rupena, tatrahi. These two paths, seva, sadak rupena, siddha, the seva and the siddha, the distinction between the two. One is archan and one is bhajan. So we'll discuss this more next Monday.
Okay.
Can one be doing archan and bhajan at the same time?
Not at the same time, but archan can be leading to our development of bhajan. She's asking, can archan and bhajan be done simultaneously? And I'm answering no. Archan is the performance with the body. I'm performing puja, etc. But my bhajan is the meditation after the archan has been. If you read the introduction to by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in the Bhajan Rahasya, I can send it to you, I'll show you afterwards. But in that introduction, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati very clearly describes its distinction between archan and bhajan. Yes, we're performing our archan and perhaps we're remembering the pastimes of Radha and Krishna while we're performing those pastimes. But then when we stop our actual physical archan, then the bhajan can really begin without the external offering.
Becomes more deeper.
Yes, right. It's a progress. It's a process, a progress. Yes. Okay. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Sadhan Bhakti ki jai, Shuddha Bhakti ki jai, 9 Angas of Bhakti ki jai, Gold Premanandi, Srila Gurudev's Western Tour ki jai. So now we'll come to chapter 19, and we'll just move back a little bit to page 446. So we've actually already read through here, but because we haven't touched this for 3 days, we can just read this again. We've almost finished this chapter, so we can just refresh something of what we've read. We understand the construction of this chapter, basically. It's showing us the Abhidheya. There are 3 chapters on the Abhidheya. This chapter 19, then the next chapter 20 and 21. They're all 3 Abhidheya chapters. This chapter is basically laying the foundation of what is Shuddha Bhakti. In principle, what is Shuddha Bhakti? It's not specifically delineating between Raganuga and Vaidhi, although its focus is on Vaidhi, but that's not the, it hasn't been specific. It's mentioned Raganuga Bhakti also, but this is basically putting the platform down of what is Bhakti. And then the next chapter will be describing Vaidhi Bhakti exclusively, and then the following chapter will be describing what is Raganuga Bhakti, and then the next chapter will be what is Bhav Bhakti. So this is the sequence that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is walking us through here. So we'll start on page 446, and we're opening out the beautiful verse of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. So now he's discussing the 4th anga of bhakti is performing service, pada seva, or paricharya. Pada seva must also be performed together with Shravan, Kirtan and Smaranam. One should perform pada seva with a humble attitude, understanding that one is unqualified for the service. Always be feeling that. And then qualification can be bestowed upon one. If one is feeling proud that he's qualified for such a service, then how can the speciality of Krishna's mercy come through? Always the thread of Trinada peace has to be there for the process to continue. Always. And we always remind ourselves, who is the most humble personality in all existence? It's Sri Radhika, who holds the most immense potency to even control the mad elephant of Krishna. And she is the most humble. So this quality we must constantly be refreshing in our own activities and consciousnesses. One should perform Padaseva in a humble attitude, understanding that one is unqualified for the service. It is also essential to realize the object of service as Sat Chit Ananda. This means not Arop Siddha Bhakti or Sangha Siddha Bhakti. These are distracting focuses. They're not pure. It's not Uttam Bhakti or Swarup Siddha Bhakti. Swarup Siddha Bhakti is purely focused on pleasing the Supreme Lord. That is what Swarup Siddha Bhakti or Uttam Bhakti. is proclaiming. Padaseva, it is also essential to realize the object of service is Satchidananda, the embodiment of eternity, knowledge and bliss. Padaseva includes seeing the face of Sri Krishna's deity form, touching him, circumambulating him, following him, and visiting holy places such as Sri Bhagavan's temple, the Ganga, Jagannath Puri, Dwarka, Mathura, Navadvip, and so forth. Srila Rupa Goswami has presented these in a very clear and vivid way in his description of the 64 angas of bhakti. We'll discuss this in the next chapter. Service to Sri Tulsi and Shuddha Bhaktas is also included within this anga. So appreciate the meaning of Padasevana. All of these meanings that we've just gone through, going to the temples, going to the holy dhams, and service to Shuddha Bhaktas. Service to Shuddha Bhaktas is within all the angas. Within all the angas, this service to Krishna's devotees must be there. The fifth anga of worship, Archan, is Archan. There are many considerations regarding qualification and methods of worship. If one is attracted to the path of Archan, even after being engaged in Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Smaranam, then one should perform Archan after properly accepting Diksha mantras from Sri Gurudev. These Diksha mantras are most important because Archan includes many mantras that we have to chant. So if these mantras are not initially coming from Gurudev through the Guru mantra, the Guru Gayatri, the Gora mantra, the Gora Gayatri, the Gopal mantra, and the Kambij mantra, if they're not coming through these Diksha mantras, then the other mantras are not going to have so much potency. Rajana, what is the difference between Naam and mantra? So we chant Hare Krishna and we have Diksha mantras. So what is the distinction between these two? Babaji, Sri Hari's name is the life and soul of mantra. That's saying that they're both the same, in other words. Sri Hari's name is the life and soul of mantra. In other words, actually, Sri Hari's name is more powerful than mantra. Sri Hari's name is the life and soul of mantra. So I'm understanding this to indicate that Sri Hari's name is more potent than mantra. My Gurudev would often say like this, that Harinam is more important than Diksha mantras. Diksha mantras are very, very important. But if we want to make a comparison, the Diksha mantras don't cross over the Viraja river. They don't go into the transcendental world. Harinam does. Harinam crosses over that boundary, that borderline. So ultimately, Harinam is more potent than the Diksha mantras. But in order to perfect our Harinam, because Diksha mantras are connecting with Guru. Many times people would comment to Gurudev, my Gurudev, oh, we don't get to associate with you sufficiently. We never have enough time with you. And my Gurudev would look at them sort of quizzically and say, don't you chant your Guru mantras? In other words, when you chant your Guru mantras, then Guru is completely present there with you. So this is how important it is to chant the mantras. Yet at the same time, Naam is prominent. The rishis have added words such as Namaha, obeisances, to Sri Harinam and disclosed its specific power. So this is described in a footnote in the end here. This, just before this fourth footnote, which is, this is a reference to Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 772. We can see that afterwards. Sri Harinam by nature has nothing to do with this material world. Interesting. Nothing to do with this material world. Whereas the jiva, because of various bodily designations provided by Maya, is entrapped by objects consisting of dead matter. What a beautiful sentence. Consequently, in order to detach the jiva's mind from sense objects, different principles of archan have been established on the path of regulated devotional service, Maryad Marg. For example, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, when he was introducing deity worship, initially, back in the very early 70s, or even earlier than that, he was informing the devotees, this will train you in punctuality. This will train you in cleanliness. These were essential qualities that were needed to move forward. So this archan, it trains us to, in the Maryad Marg, the path of correct etiquette, the correct way to interact between Krishna and in our prayers, etc. Krishna will listen to ancient mantras, but if we're just praying, asking for or praying for different objects in this world or something of that nature, if it's not held with a mantra, it's not going to have so much potency. My Gurudev used to describe all the time, especially when we're offering our bhoga. If this bhoga is performed properly with mantra, then it's going to have potency. And then we're going to get pure prasadam as a result of that, returned from Krishna. If it's not going through the proper process, then it won't be the purest form of prasadam. We can't be sentimental about this. The rishis have given us these mantras to discipline ourselves, to discipline our mind. It's just been saying here that the jivas are entrapped by objects consisting of dead matter. We're entrapped. So how to be released from that entrapment is by chanting these mantras. They will assist us. The Mahamantra will take us the furthest, but still these Diksha mantras are going to be tremendously supportive because they connect in Sambandha with Guru and Mahaprabhu and Krishna. Consequently, in order to detach the jiva's mind from sense objects, different principles of archan have been established on the path of regulated devotional service, Maryad Marg. It is essential for materialistic people to accept Diksha. It's essential. When one chants the Krishna mantra, Siddha, Sadhya, Susiddha, Ari are not considered. So there's a footnote here, and it's basically saying that these four defects are about the jiva are not considered. So they're not so important to actually understand. But my Gurudev references them in a footnote at the end of this chapter. Initiation into the exclusive chanting of the Krishna mantra is extremely beneficial for the jiva. For of all the different mantras in the world, the Krishna mantra is the most powerful. A bona fide disciple receives strength from Krishna immediately when a bona fide spiritual master initiates him into this mantra. After initiation, Gurudev educates the inquiring disciple concerning the performance of archan. Now he's cleaning the disciple up from the contamination of this material world where we've just come out of. Briefly, Archan Marg includes the observance of Sri Krishna's appearance day, fasting in Kartik month, observing Ekadashi, taking bath in the month of Marg, and other such activities. One should also understand that one must certainly worship Krishna's bhaktas as well as Krishna himself on the path of Archan. This is saying the same as it said in Padasevana. One must worship Krishna's devotees simultaneously as perform this Archan. It can't be neglected without that. We know the description, the famous description of a Kanishta. He's offering his puja and some bhaktas arrive and he neglects the bhaktas and keeps doing the puja thinking this is more important. This is a symptom of a Kanishta. He should put the item he's offering down and attend to service to the Vaishnavas first. So this is what we have heard for so many years. The sixth anga of Vaidhi Bhakti is offering prayers and obeisances, Vandanam. This is included as part of Padaseva and Kirtan, but it is still considered a separate anga of Bhakti. Namaskar itself is also called Vandanam. Ekanga Namaskar, and paying obeisances with 8 parts of the body, touching the ground, Astanga Namaskar, are 2 types of Namaskar. It is considered offensive to offer obeisances with only one hand touching the ground. To offer obeisances when the body is covered with cloth, that means your head and everything is covered. To offer obeisances when the body is covered with cloth. To offer obeisances behind the deity, like a thief, like when Raghunath Das was offering obeisances to Nityananda from a distance, thinking that Nityananda is not going to see me. He wasn't coming in front of Nityananda, but he was. So Nityananda called him a thief for doing like that. So if you offer behind the deity, this is not correct. To offer prostrated obeisances with the body pointing directly towards the deity, this is an offense. Should not do like that. Or with the right side towards the deity, or to offer obeisances in the Garbha Mandir, the deity room. So we should always have our left side facing the deity. Always, every time we offer obeisances, or any time we're offering it, it always should be with the left side towards the object of worship. And never in the deity room should we offer obeisances. Performing service, dasyam, is the 7th anga of bhakti. I am Krishna's servant. This ego or conception of the self is dasyam, and bhajan performed with the sentiment of a servant is the topmost bhajan. The topmost bhajan. Ultimately, we want to be servants of Sri Radhika. Ultimately. Of course, servants of Guru is going to introduce us to that service to Sri Radhika. But always that service mood must be prominent. Dasyam includes offering obeisances, reciting prayers, offering all of one's activities, serving, keeping proper conduct, remembering and obeying orders. Katha Shravanam. So this chapter is laying the foundation, as I said originally, of what is Shuddha Bhakti. And it's including Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. He's talking now about bhajan. All these angas, these 9 angas can be related to bhajan simultaneously as archan. We should know that. This will be actually opened out more in the final 14 chapters, where we have to perform seva internally and kirtan, etc., shravanam internally. The 8th anga of bhakti is serving as a friend, sakyam, which includes the mood of kinship towards Krishna with the endeavors for his well-being, anukul, always wanting to do something that is favorable for Krishna. There are 2 kinds of sakyam, friendship in Vaidhi Bhakti and friendship in Raganuga Bhakti. So as I said, this is a broad chapter, this 19th chapter. It's including Vaidhi and Raganuga. More prominently Vaidhi, but Raganuga is there indicated because these angas are also applicable in Raganuga. But this is, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is walking us through the stages of what is Shuddha Bhakti initially. Sri Prahlad's shloka refers to Vaidanga Sakyam. For example, the feeling of Sakyam while serving the deity is Vaidhi Sakyam. Serving the deity, feeling that friendship, service mood is Vaidhi Sakyam. The 9th anga is known as Atma Nivedanam, which means offering the whole self, body, mind, and pure Atma to Sri Krishna. The characteristics of Atma Nivedanam are exclusive endeavor for Krishna and lack of activity for one's own self-interest. It is also characteristic of Atma Nivedanam that one lives to serve the desire of Krishna, fully Sharanagat, and keeps one's own desire subordinate to Krishna's desire. Smartavya Shatatam Vishnu, Vishmartavya Nagato Chit. We read this just in the 18th chapter. Always remembering Krishna, never forgetting Krishna. This completely, fully focused on service to the Lord. Just as a cow that has been purchased does not care for its own maintenance. In other words, we have nothing to consider in regards to our own maintenance. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paripasate. Krishna, he provides what we have, he carries what we lack. It's saying very clearly there's no need to separately endeavor. If we're performing our sadhan bhajan and our consciousness are becoming daily more focused on the Lord, then to be concerned with the various material necessities of the body. We see the example of Mahaprabhu. He would just be performing his daily activities as if by rote. They were just going on. He would just, but his maintenance was all just being taken care of by Jagannath Dev and the surrounding devotees, etc. So there's no need to be overly concerned for our maintenance. This is a very important point. I'll read that last one. Just as a cow has been purchased, does not care for its own maintenance. The cow doesn't have to worry about going and getting grass, etc. Its owner will feed it. Atmanivedanam in Vaidhi Bhakti is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 9:4:18-20 as follows. This is about Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj was a great devotee of the Lord, and his description of devotion is described there in that 9th canto. Savai mana Krishna padaravindayor vichampsi vaikunte gunanu varnane karo hare mandira marjana dishu shrutim chakar achutya sat katadya. Ambarish Maharaj engaged his mind in serving the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, his words in describing the qualities of Sri Bhagavan, his hands in cleaning Sri Hari's temple, and his ears in hearing Achyuta's blissful pastimes. All his senses fully engaged in Krishna. Mukunda lingalaya darshane drisho tad britya gatra sparshe naga sangamam Grinam cha tat pada soroja sorabay Shrimat tulasyam rasanam tad arpite. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Mukunda, different temples and the holy places, all his bodily limbs in touching the bodies of Krishna's bhaktas, his nostrils in smelling the divine smell of tulsi offered to Krishna's lotus feet, and his tongue in tasting the prasad offered to Bhagavan, all his senses completely immersed in his bhakti. This is, Ambarish Maharaj is described as a Shuddha Bhakta. Prahlad Maharaj, we just discussed on the previous page, is described as a Jnani Bhakta. He worshipped the Lord in awe and veneration. Ambarish Maharaj is a Shuddha Bhakta. Ambarish Maharaj is not a Siddha Bhakta. Prahlad is a Siddha Bhakta, but he's still a Jnani Bhakta. But Ambarish is a Shuddha Bhakta, and he's not a Siddha Bhakta, he's a practicing Bhakta. So this is how he's practicing his Shuddha Bhakti in a most exemplary way. And actually Krishna bestowed the mercy of his protection with the Sudarshan Chakra. So we know the pastime when Durvasa insulted him and created that Krita demon to destroy him, then he was totally protected by the Sudarshan Chakra of Krishna. He didn't have to worry about anything. Palo hare chitra pada nur sharpane shiro hrishikesha pada binandane kamam chadasye natu karma kamyaya yatotama shloka janashraya rati. His feet were always engaged in walking to Bhagavan's holy places, and he would pay obeisances to Sri Krishna's lotus feet. Ambarish Maharaj would offer garlands, sandal, boga, and similar paraphernalia in Krishna's service, not with the desire to enjoy himself, but to receive the love of Krishna that is present only in his Shuddha Bhaktas. Ambarish is a Shuddha Bhakta, a pure Bhakta, and he's demonstrating this very beautifully. In this pastime described in the 9th canto, we're approaching the 10th from the 9th canto. So Shukadev is demonstrating the nature of a Shuddha Bhakta here in preparation for our absorption in Krishna's childhood pastimes. When Vijay Kumar and Brajanath heard Babaji Mahashai's very sweet and blissful instructions, they were overwhelmed with joy and offered obeisances to him, saying, Prabhu, you are directly Bhagavan's personal associate. We are both blessed today by receiving your nectarian instructions. So we should always view these great elevated Vaishnavas as being directly associates of Sri Bhagavan. If we view like that, then that personality can reveal the greatest part of their wealth to us. If we have that type of full respect. Yasya Prasad, Bhagavat Prasado, Yasya Prasadam, Nagatikatopi. We're singing every day to honor the Guru, to honor the pure Vaishnavas in this way. We are both blessed today by receiving your nectarian instructions. We were wasting our days in the useless pride of caste, family, and high education. You see, only a humble person will say like that straight away. By dint of the wealth of Sukriti accumulated in many previous lifetimes, we have obtained your mercy. This is the truth. It is by the fruit of many previous activities that we have attained this opportunity to hear these truths today. Vijay, O most eminent of the Bhagavats, Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur ordered me to visit the Yog Pit at Sri Mayapur. By his mercy today, I took darshan of that holy place and also of a personal associate of Sri Bhagavan. If you will be so kind, I will come again tomorrow evening. When the elderly Babaji heard Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur's name, he immediately offered prostrated dandavats and said, I offer my respectful obeisances again and again to the incarnation of Vyasadeva and to Sri Chaitanya's pastimes. Since it had become quite late in the morning, remember they were in the morning because Vijay Kumar was visiting for the first time, Brajanath and Vijay Kumar then departed for Brajanath's house. So this is the end of the 19th chapter. So I'll just read through a little bit of these footnotes. I'm not going to read them all. You can read them yourself about Gajendra, etc. So my Gurudev, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, he comments that on page 437, it's speaking the verse, Kriti Sadhya Bhavet Sadhya Bhavsa Sadhana Vida Nitya Siddhyasya Bhavasya Prakatam Satyate. This is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, from Rupa Goswami. Because this whole chapter of 19 has discussed bhakti. From the very beginning, we had the verse, this Anyabilasata Shunyam, what is Uttam Bhakti? And then we had the different stages, what is Sadhan Bhakti, what is Bhav Bhakti, and what is Prema Bhakti. This verse, Klesh Agni, Shubhada, Moksha, Lokuta Krit, Sadurlabha, Sandra Ananda Visheshatma, Sri Krishna Akashani Chasa. And we unpacked that verse in detail. This was in the beginning of this chapter. And then, only then, did we get to the Das Mula. So let's just read this Das Mula 9 again, because now we've got 15 minutes left of our time, but I don't really want to go into the next chapter today. I want to begin the chapter tomorrow. But now we're just going to briefly recap this 19th chapter, which I already began to recap at the beginning of this class today. So this Das Mula Tattva, one should perform bhajan of the 9 processes of Vaidhi Bhakti, namely hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving Krishna's lotus feet, acting as Krishna's servant, becoming Krishna's friend, and surrendering oneself fully to Sri Krishna. One who with faith daily practices bhajan in this way certainly achieves Krishna Rati. So it's twofold. It's Vaidhi Bhakti and it's Raganuga Bhakti. This is the platform of Shuddha Bhakti. It'll be delineated by the description in the next chapter of all the Angas of Bhakti, which is exclusively Vaidhi Bhakti. Then the 21st chapter will be exclusively Raganuga Bhakti. So now Bhaktivinoda Thakur, or Babaji, he describes what we've been discussing, these Angas of Bhakti. But prior to this, establishing the platform of Bhakti, we had, I just said, this Anabhilasita Shunyam. What is Uttam Bhakti? And then what are the three stages? Sadhan Bhakti, Bhav Bhakti, and Prema Bhakti. And then he discusses that actually this Bhakti is beyond Varnashram. He discusses this here. This was part of our discussion, where he's saying that one should practice, that Shuddha Bhakti should be practiced in priority to the restrictions or teachings of Varnashram. So we're going through stages here, very methodically, from what is Uttam Bhakti, what are the three stages, and then these stages culminate in the necessity to not reject, but to not have to follow strictly the Varnashram. This was described. And then finally, it's coming to the descriptions of these 9 Angas of Bhakti. So this is the journey through this 19th chapter. Very ecstatic. The Abhidheya. Abhidheya means the means, the methodology to attain Krishna Priti, to attain Shuddha Bhakti. I hope I saw many of you had appreciated that diagram we made of the Das Mula. I think it's very, very helpful to keep on refreshing that. So you can print up that. I've given different options. I'm going to print here in Calcutta some posters or some stickers also, because if we look at this regularly, it just makes it more accessible for us. And we should appreciate that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is describing this Abhidheya in 3 chapters. The Shuddha Bhakti Foundation platform, which is this 19th chapter, what is pure Bhakti, and what is Bhav Bhakti and Prema Bhakti, and that this is beyond Varnashram, and then a full description of the 9 Angas of Bhakti. And they're not exclusively being described as only applicable to Vaidhi Bhakti, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur is including these Shravanam Kirtana can also be applied into Raganuga Bhakti. But as I said, he's making the principal focus on Vaidhi Bhakti. So this is more or less this 19th chapter unpacked. And finally, we get the most beautiful description of Shuddha Bhakti that is performed by Ambarish Maharaj. This is the final culmination of this chapter. The pastimes of Ambarish Maharaj in the 9th canto are divine, so sweet. My Gurudev would regularly hear these beautiful chapters because it's really showing, demonstrating Krishna's protection from this great Mayavad, Brahmavad, Durvasa, being chased by the Sudarshan Chakra. So this pastime is very wonderful to remember. Yes, there's a verse there. And so this is the culmination of this chapter, establishing Shuddha Bhakti performed by Ambarish Maharaj. So now I'm just going to read what my Gurudev says on page 450 in the second end note. It says, Sadhan Bhakti, or the regulative discharge of devotional service, is the practice performed with the present senses, by which Bhav, transcendental loving service to Krishna, is attained. This Bhav exists eternally within the heart of every jiva, and it is the potentiality of Sadhan Bhakti to awaken it. So, my Gurudev would always recite this verse straight after he had quoted the verse Anya Vilasita Sunyam, is the definition of Uttam Bhakti. But what is the activities of the Uttam Bhakti? Uttam Bhakta is beginning to be described in this verse, that he realizes the potentiality of bhav within the heart is prakritam hridi sadyate, this potentiality. And we have the other verse that we say regularly also, that Nityasiddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Surachita Korye Udai, that this Shuddha Bhakti is residing in potential within the heart. It can't be wakened ultimately by sadhana. It's ultimately wakened by that person who is fully realized in sadhana, bhav and prem. That is the Mahabhagavat. He can awake that potentiality within the heart. But the sadhana is going to purify the jiva in order to get the Sukriti to meet that great Vaishnava, who will wake up the sleeping jiva's dormant bhav, which is in the heart already in potential. It's saying here, Prakrityam hridi, hridi means heart. Prakrityam means like potentiality. And sadyate, this is potentially within the heart. So sadhana by itself is like going to purify us to meet that Shuddha Bhakta, who will inject the Krishna Seva Vasana, the desire to serve Krishna. Krishna Seva Vasana means the desire for Krishna Seva. And then the Bhakti Lata Bij will sprout from the heart. The heart, so to speak, will crack in the association of the Uttam Bhakta, and the seed will emerge. That bij, that creeper will emerge. That creeper has as its support, the pillar of its support, because a creeper has to grow on something, is actually humility. And we've talked about that today also. Without that humility, the creeper cannot increase and grow. So that creeper is inspired by Sri Gurudev. Krishna Seva Vasana, this injection of the desire to please and serve Krishna. And gradually, this is fine-tuned. And then we've also discussed today, I forgot to say, about the Diksha mantras. The Diksha mantras are very important to support our cleansing process, so to speak, our cleansing of our conditioned association for so many lifetimes. This can be purified very quickly through the potency of our Diksha mantras. But in ultimately, the Maha Mantra is going to be the mantra that's going to carry us across the Viraja river into transcendence. So all of these thoughts we can have about the speciality of Shuddha Bhakti. It's called Abhidheya-tattva. It's the start of Shuddha Bhakti. It's the platform for the next 2 chapters. So it's a very powerful, essential chapter. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the way he's systematically moving through here, especially for the calculative Western consciousnesses, then it's step by step by step by step. We came through initially what is Paramatattva, what is the Amnaya, what is the evidence for all of this. And this was established in the 13th chapter very strongly. What is the final evidence? The evidence is Srimad Bhagavatam, the evidence is the Upanishads, etc. These are the evidences that are going to be supportive of this. And then what is the nature of Krishna Tattva, of his Paramatattva, 3 tattvas about Krishna. And Krishna as Shaktiman, the possessor of Shakti. And then 3 chapters about the Jiva. Actually, this 14th chapter about Shakti Tattva is beautiful. All the chapters are incredible, that are leading to this place, a foundation of what is Shuddha Bhakti now. This is our platform to carry on into the realm of what is Vaidhi Bhakti. We'll begin this tomorrow, chapter 20, and we'll have all the various rules and regulations. This is Vaidhi Bhakti, essential to know and be familiar with this, even if we think even if we are on the path of Rag Marg, still we must be very familiar with all the rules and regulations entirely, so we don't transgress any Maryad. If we make offenses, then it can throw us back in our bhajan if we're not aware of these rules and regulations. Many of them, if we're practicing a more focused path of bhajan, then we can neglect, not reject, we can neglect many of the principles. But we should know clearly what are all the principles. So I think I'll stop here. You can read for yourselves there's one interesting part here, one more part in the end note, very beautiful part, that Sonaka Rishi and the other rishis at Naimisharanya, I'll just read this part of the end note on page 451, down the bottom. Sonaka and the other rishis of Naimisharanya are examples of those who are inquisitive. This is talking about the 4 types of individuals who come to Krishna. So these inquisitive, jignashu persons come to Krishna. Once Sonaka and the other rishis organized a sacrificial yagyas for 1,000 years in the holy place of Naimisharanya, hoping to attain the supreme benediction. After some time, they lost all hope of attaining their desired goal by that process, but they attained perfection through the answers of Sri Suta Goswami, the disciple of Lord Balaram, and Shukadev Goswami, gave to their questions. So it's saying that they began to lose hope. Actually, in the 18th chapter of the first canto, it's described their faces became blackened by the smoke, which indicates that they weren't really accomplishing their progressive goal of understanding what is bhakti. And it didn't manifest really until they had the association. It's always the association. And the association in the Bhagavatam was initially Suta Goswami. And he was giving them directly the association of Shukadev Goswami, because he'd heard in Sukratal the Sukadev Goswami speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, so he could reiterate all of this. Now these questions, these 6 questions, I just want to read and then we'll close. So first question in the Bhagavatam, it's saying, what is the ultimate benediction for the jivas? These are powerful questions. What is the ultimate benediction for the jivas? If we don't wake up and ask these questions, how can we expect to really progress? What topic can we hear that will please the life of all souls, Paramatma Sri Hari? What are the topics to please Krishna? How can we please Krishna? What is bhakti, in other words? 3. What were the purposes that Vasudeva, Sri Krishna, desired to fulfill when he appeared from Devaki's womb? What was the purpose of his manifestation as Brajendranandan, Shyam Sundar, or Mathuresh Krishna? What was his purpose? And 4. What pastimes did Bhagavan Vasudeva perform in his different avatars? All of these are going to be unpacked in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And 5. Please describe the qualities of the glories of Sri Hari. Actually, all of these questions that we're hearing are adding to an understanding of what is bhakti, what is Shuddha Bhakti. Again, it's supporting this platform that we're making here in this 19th chapter of what is Shuddha Bhakti. By asking these questions, we're beginning Shuddha Bhakti. In the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this Satyam Paramadimahi, Janmadiyasya Yata Nivyarat Itaradas Kartasheshu Abhignatsaran, etc., down to Satyam Paramadimahi, the last 3 words. What is the highest truth? Satyam Parama, to be meditated on, Dimahi. And Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur gives 5 explanations, and the final explanation is Bhakti Devi herself. Bhakti Devi herself is the highest truth to be meditated on while reading this Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the highest. So Bhakti Devi herself is so applicable in this particular 19th chapter, because we're establishing what is Shuddha Bhakti, what is pure Bhakti. The final example was Ambarish Maharaj. That was the final example that Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave us. But this was the essential potency of this chapter, is establishing the platform of Shuddha Bhakti. And these questions are very applicable. So the sixth is, where did Dharma take shelter when Sri Krishna returned to his own abode? So what happens after Krishna returned? What happened in the next 5,000 years that we're up to now? When Kali Maharaj advents, what will happen then in this world? So all this is revealed in the 11th and 12th chapters, which are called the Abhidheya chapters. The Prayojan is the 10th canto. Oh, the 11th and 12th cantos, sorry. So I hope you can all catch the gist of that. I hope I've explained it clearly. So, 19th chapter, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Shuddha Bhakti ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Rinda ki jai, Gol Premanandi. So tomorrow we'll go to the 20th chapter, what is Vaidhi Bhakti, on the platform of what is already established as Shuddha Bhakti. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai.